I'm sure you
And welcome back. I don't know how long I'm going to play for, but
right.
I'm going to do something.
I'll have to remember that next time I get a ship.
Had enough of fish and fowl. Treat yourself and your kin to a choice cut of steak or a tender rack of ribs.
Torvak's going to have a quick trip to
Tried
Riften.
mercenary work? It might suit you. Fruits and vegetables, that is it.
I work with my mother to sell fruits and vegetables. It's fun most days, but hard work.
I work for Bellefonds at the general goods store.
Let's go to...
Come by Bellefonds' shop at the market. I'm sure we've got something you need.
I don't claim to... Looking to protect yourself or deal some damage. Don't forget to check inside the shop if you need anything. Have you met my father? He's a steward up at Dragon's Reach.
Get over here.
Hi, see any dragons? What happened to traveling light?
I'm still here. What do you need to take?
That's a big one.
Lead on, then. I help my... You think all the count... blades, helmets, pretty much anything to suit your needs. All right, then.
Hi, how are you? What happened to traveling light?
Steel.
Watch it.
Got some good pieces out here if you're looking to buy. More inside. I don't claim to be the best blacksmith in Whiterun. Jorland Greymane's got that honor. Man's steel is legendary. All I ask is a fair chance.
Hey, keeping well, I hope? What happened to traveling light?
Have you met my father? I help my the finest weapons and armor. Don't forget to check inside the shop.
Trouble in Whiterun, and I'll haul you into the Dragon's Reach dungeon myself.
Welcome. Let me know if you want anything. Think I got a clean mug around here somewhere.
Hi there. Are you sure? Oh no. Please, come with me. I need to speak to you privately. So, are you working with them? You think you can take me? You so much... So the Alakir know where I am?
Nothing like a nice
What do they offer?
to keep Skyrim's
Tell me.
problems at bay. Doesn't work forever, though.
Then I need your help, and there isn't anyone else I can trust here in the city. There will be. Of that, you can be assured. I am not the person that the people of Whiterun think I am. My real name is Eamon. I am a noble of House Suda, and the men who are looking for me The Alakir.
It's nice to
They're
get out
a
and see Skyrim.
I need you to root them out
Wasn't
and
sure
drive
if I
them
ever
away
would.
before they find me and drag... They're mercenaries, only in it for the money. They're led by a man named Kamatu. I don't dare show my face, lest they recognize me. I heard one of them was just arrested trying... Please, I know I'm asking you to do something difficult, maybe even... You think I'd be in hiding? These
The next
men,
dragon we run into
guards
is a
and
fire
Jarls
one.
can be
I
bought.
don't need
I don't know
scorch
for
marks on the
sure.
board again.
I spoke out against the I mean it. I'll cut you in half. Find me the moment the Alakir are taken care of.
If it's work, I enjoy this work well enough, but I'm ready to retire. Here, take a look at this. Some of the Jarl's men came by and left this bounty letter. I assume you saw the Gildergreen? Big tree. It's part of the Temple of Kinnareth. People want Danica to do something about it, but I don't know what they expect. Need anything else? Just let me know.
Welcome back. All right, let us discuss what took place today. The trades on the board that took place during and after the live stream was done. There were a few things that came out after the live stream was done. So let's go ahead and work our way around the board here. Elmer Soderblom goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, 39 games played with the Red Wings this year, 2 goals and assists for 3 points. I like this move for Pittsburgh. Going the other way, a 2026 third-round pick, which had been San Jose's, so Detroit gets back a draft pick for a player that wasn't going to be in the plans going forward. The Buffalo Sabres have acquired Tanner Pearson. The Winnipeg Jets becoming their friends here. Tanner Pearson with the Jets this year, 52 games, 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points. Going to the Jets in this deal, a 2027 7th-round draft pick. Brayden Schenn has been traded to the New York Islanders. 61 games played with St. Louis, 12 goals, 16 assists, 28 points. I will say that the Islanders paid a price to get St. Louis to part with Brayden Schenn. I like this deal for St. Louis. Now, there's a first-round pick, which is Colorado, so that neighbor will be 32nd, especially with what Colorado pick. A third-round pick, which was New Jersey's, going to St. Louis in this as well. Jonathan Drouin, who was a piece that came out after other pieces were reported. 55 games, 3 goals, 18 assists, 21 points for Drouin with the Islanders this season. And Marcus Gidlock, who does not have any kind of contract with the National Hockey League team at this point. 20-year-old goaltender who's playing in the Swedish League. So, prospect for the future and net for St. Louis. Also, the big deal that came out about an hour after the trade deadline's done, and Nazem Kadri was surprised by it. He's going back to Colorado. So, we're going back to 2022. I've seen a lot of comments about Corey Perry's back in Tampa. Now Nazem Kadri's back in Colorado. Maybe we get the same matchup in the 2022 final that we had, or the same matchup in the 2026 final that we had in 2022. At any rate, Kadri's going to Colorado, 61 games, 12 goals, 29 assists, 41 points, and it just gives ridiculous depth to Colorado. In fact, I don't know how they're going to structure the lines. That'll be interesting. But also a 2027 fourth-round pick picked up from Calgary. Going the other way, a 2028 first, a conditional 2027 second-round draft pick. The Calgary Flames also retain 20% of the cap hit, so that's $1.4 million that they'll retain on Kadri for the length of his contract, which has to help. Max Curran, who is a 19-year-old center who was drafted in 2024. Victor Olofsson, also traded to Calgary, 60 games, 11 goals, 14 assists for 25 points. So Olofsson's off to his third team in 2 seasons. The Florida Panthers acquired Benny Hinostroza for future considerations from the Wild, and we'd see future considerations again at this trade deadline, and for sure there he is. Hinostroza is a player I like. I'm sad for him that Minnesota looks the best they've ever looked, and he's on his way to Florida, a team that normally you'd be happy to be traded to for another 10 points out of the playoffs. Matthew Joseph became a free agent, and that lasted about 10 minutes. He signs a deal with the LA Kings for the rest of the season. The cap hit $900,000. Joseph's a fourth liner at this point in his career, and so Kings added just a little bit of depth there. Jordan Eberle signed an extension with the Seattle Kraken. It is a 2-year extension. It carries a cap hit of $5.5 million, so he's not going anywhere. We did see some players get signed to extensions today, and I mean, it's on them. They didn't want to stick around this week. General manager can just tell them, either you sign this contract or got an offer for you. Nick Delorier is on his way to Carolina. He was acquired from the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for a conditional 2027 7th-round draft pick. Delorier, 24 games with the Flyers, just the 1 assist, but he's not an offensively minded player. We know this. He can take a regular shift, though. He can be a useful forward liner, and if you need a guy to tap a player on the shoulder and say, you want to back off, like, Delorier's the kind of guy who just tap a guy on the shoulder and go, sorry, Mr. Delorier, as you were. Pajot has signed an extension with the New York Islanders. It's a 3-year extension, $4.85 million cap hit for J.G. Pajot. So, solid contract there.
Let's get
I
going.
don't have any problem with it. I think Pajot re-signing makes a lot of sense. So there's a lot of talk about Bobrovsky, and Paul Maurice basically has said, now that the deadline's passed, that all these rumors about Bobrovsky, he figures that somebody in Canada probably started him up, and with this idea of, hey, maybe. And what happens at the trade deadline is you look at the teams that are not in the playoff picture. You look at their pending unrestricted free agents, and you say, okay, this player might be on the move. I think that's what happened with Bobrovsky. The Panthers are trying to re-sign Bobrovsky. I don't know if I would if I was Florida at this point in time. And I'm being completely honest, I think that at age 37, turning 38 pretty quickly here, I do believe, they'd be probably pretty smart to find another starting goaltender in the offseason. They're also trying to re-sign A.J. Greer. So A.J. Greer's name was out there, but apparently Florida wanted to kind of keep the band together. So Florida, I think what they're going to bank on in the offseason is that with Markov being healthy for next season, they should have a big bounce-back season as a team, which they could, but it is a full extra year. Everybody's a year older, and it's really difficult to discover the net to have the net stand up front. Vancouver Canucks did make a couple of trades. Evander Kane did not get moved. So for all the Canuck fans that told me when the Canucks picked up Kane last summer, hey, you're wrong. Kane's he's gonna play for the Canucks. He's gonna get his trade value up. We're gonna move at the deadline for a draft pick. It's gonna be fine. Kane's playing tonight, so still Vancouver. Lucas Reichel isn't. Reichel they picked up from Chicago. They talked about how much they like Reichel, and Reichel's gone. 14 games played for Reichel this year, just the 1 assist. He goes to Boston. He's played 23 games in Abbotsford, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points with Abbotsford. The Canucks get back a 2026 6th-round draft pick. So it is what it is with the Canucks at that point. The Canucks have also traded David Kampf to Washington. I've given up on waiting for what the return is. It can't be a lot. I think probably a 6th or 7th-round draft pick. 38 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points for Kampf with the Canucks after getting his contract terminated by Toronto. I will say for the trade deadline, the Canucks the NHL needs to do something to make this a little bit better of an experience. We shouldn't have trades coming out an hour after the trade deadline. There should be something better for the system. I feel like you could really make the trade deadline a better experience for everybody, including the players, because Nazem Kadri was really thrown off by the trade coming out that far after the trade deadline. And I don't like either how sometimes players will find out via social media when they get traded. So I would love for the NHL to just make this a little bit better for everybody and make it so that when these trades come through, we don't have this long delay before we know what trades have been made. I just think they should capitalize on the excitement at this time of year. Also, the Washington Capitals pick up Timothy Liljegren, going to San Jose in that deal. A 2026 4th-round draft pick, which is Vegas' draft pick at that stage. So Liljegren being traded by San Jose, he hasn't really been... He was featured prominently early in the season, but you could see his ice time being kind of cut back a little bit. Interestingly enough, they do not trade Orlov. So this is a San Jose team that is not throwing in the towel on making the playoffs this season. Bobby McMahon did get traded to Seattle. 60 games with Toronto this year, 19 goals, 13 assists, 32 points. Toronto gets back a 2027 2nd-round draft pick and a 4th-round draft pick this year. McMahon's on an expiring deal, so we'll see if he re-signs in Seattle. I like McMahon, as I said in the live stream too. Still useful forward. Still young enough that he can sign a long-term deal. I'm still kind of surprised Toronto just didn't figure out a way to keep the player. Justin Falk is off to Detroit, 61 games, 11 goals, 21 assists, 32 points for Falk. This does have a dramatic impact on St. Louis's defense. Even though they get Justin Hall back in this contract, so For Detroit fans, there you go. Justin Hall has been traded alongside a first-round draft pick this year, which is Detroit's, and a third-round draft pick, which is San Jose's. So St. Louis picks up a couple of draft picks. They pick up Justin Hall and Dmitry Bachelnikov. And Bachelnikov apparently is in the final season of his contract in the KHL, so could very well sign with the St. Louis Blues for this upcoming season, which would be Buchnevich and Bachelnikov. So which one's Butchie, right? The important questions that need to be asked. Ryan Strome off to Calgary, 33 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. Going to Anaheim, a 27%. And I did see somebody in the comments saying when this trade came out that meant Kadri was gone, which I didn't disagree with, but we had not seen the Kadri deal come through. Makes some sense for Calgary to want to get another center with the exit of Kadri. But Strome, with just the 3 goals in 33 games, his best days are clearly in the rearview mirror at this point in time. We'll see if he can get any offense going with Calgary, team that could use a little offense. Rangers stuck to their guns when it comes to Vinny Trocheck. The ask was still too high, so they're fine with keeping him. They kept him through the deadline. Kind of a quiet deadline from some of the teams on this board. The LA Kings picked up Scott Laughton, so they not only get Joseph, they pick up Laughton today. And trading out Perry is fine. They get Laughton. Going to the Toronto Maple Leafs, a conditional third-round draft pick. So Toronto trades out Falk. They trade out McMahon. One player they did not trade out, Ekman Larsson. And I'm kind of surprised that Ekman Larsson's sticking around, but he is. I would have thought that trade would have made sense now since he's played really well this season. His cap looks okay. He's got another year left, but maybe he gets moved this summer. And the final trade, I believe, in the queue was this one, which is Brent Austin, who has struggled mightily with the New York Rangers to find his footing. He's off to Calgary. He had 1 goal in 17 games with the Rangers this year. And going to the Rangers, 19-year-old right winger Jacob Battaglia. So we'll see if Battaglia makes a debut with the New York Rangers before the season's done, or next season, or how that works. But it is basically an exchange of prospects, and Hoffman, a player that I think still has the talent. Maybe he hits the ground running in Calgary, does quite well. So there you go. I think I've covered everything that's on the board. I think I've got everything. It ended up being not too busy in the trade deadline, especially compared to trade deadlines back when the channel first started out. It was still entertaining. Thank you guys for coming to the live stream for those who did. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. And I'll go to my treadmill and get set for tonight's games. We have 7 games tonight in the NHL. Crazy on deadline day to have 7 games, but it's the National Hockey League. I don't know me saying it. That's fine. Then tomorrow I could do a discussion of teams in the 3/4 mark of the season and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for all your support. If you haven't already hit like and subscribe, go ahead. Welcome back. Alright, so we're a little over 2 hours away from the official trade deadline. Keeping in mind, and I'm sure we'll say this a lot during the live stream, but we can get trades coming out after the trade deadline is passed. So Evgeny Malkin does have a hearing today regarding they're calling it a slash. It was a two-hander here on Dahlin. So the fact that he's having a hearing, and the rumor has it that his previous history will be considered as well. So there's going to be a suspension. It's just a matter of for how long Malkin's going to be out. A good story at the trade deadline has revealed itself. Nick Foligno gave his brother a call and said, yeah, I've been traded to a different team. And then revealed after, we'll see in a few hours, because Nick Foligno's headed to the Minnesota Wild. Chicago did him a solid. They traded Nick Foligno to the Wild, and in exchange they get back the infamous or famous or beloved future considerations. So Chicago, I think, did a nice thing here for Nick Foligno. We're going to see the Foligno brothers playing together. Minnesota, who knows? Maybe they're finding some magic here. Maybe they'll get something done come playoff time.
Good evening.
There was a minor deal made between Philadelphia and Boston. I will go through this. 2 players going each way. Brent Harrison going to Philadelphia, 22-year-old center. Played in the AHL this year, 46 games, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. Jackson Edward is a 22-year-old defenseman who's played 9 games in the AHL, no points there. has also played in the East Coast League. Going to Boston, Alexei Zhedrov, 22 years of age, a right winger, played 47 games, 10 goals, 12 assists, 22 points at the AHL level. And Massimo Rizzo, a 24-year-old center, East Coast Hockey League player, 29 games, 6 goals, 16 assists, 22 points at the ECHL level. So minor trade. Alex Ovechkin coming out and saying that today is the saddest day of his career after the trading of John Carlson. And we get the speculation going now of, is this going to be Ovechkin's last year? Is it not his last year? Well, we'll find out, I would guess, over the next few weeks, whether or not he's going to come back next year, although he can wait till after the season's done. He's the best goal scorer in the history of the game. He's earned the right to make that decision, to make that announcement whenever he sees fit. Alex Nedeljkovic is staying put, and there's rumors out there that San Jose have been trying to juice up their goaltending a little bit.
I'm still here.
But Nedeljkovic signs a 2-year extension with San Jose, carrying a cap hit of $3 million. So Nedeljkovic will be sticking around. He's been very good. Askarov, if anything, has been the shakier of the two over the last little while here. So getting Ned signed is a good move by the San Jose Sharks. A trade made between Minnesota and Philadelphia as well. So Minnesota's arming themselves up offensively. Bobby Brink, a player who I think has been underutilized by Philadelphia, goes to Minnesota, 55 games, 13 goals, 13 assists, 26 points. We'll see how things go in Minnesota. Going the other way, David Jiricek, a top prospect from Columbus that moved to Minnesota. Now he's going to Philadelphia. 25 games played at the NHL level, no points, but maybe Jiricek just needs a change of scenery. Pretty sure I said that when he went to Minnesota as well, but at this point, maybe going to Philadelphia helps him out. I do like this trade for Minnesota.
You look like most of our weapons. Looking to protect yourself or deal some damage.
LeBron talked about it's a first, a top prospect, and maybe more. So Nashville's not lowering their asking price for Ryan O'Reilly. They feel like they know what the assets worth, and they're not willing to
the finest weapons in armor.
That's going to hurt their future, just to get O'Reilly off the books. And I would also say, with where Nashville is in the standings, they don't really have to trade him. They're 3 points back from a playoff spot. They're right there. The New York Rangers as well, letting teams know that they're not going to lower their demands for what they're looking for Trocheck. They are perfectly fine with holding Trocheck through and past the deadline. I think Trocheck would probably prefer to stay with the Rangers, to be honest, and I have no inside intel on that or anything, but Trocheck's a heart and soul kind of guy. I'm really surprised at how much his name's been out there. I do agree with the Rangers making sure that the price for him is pretty high. Corey Perry's headed to Tampa, so that's why I'm wearing a Lightning jersey.
Until next time.
It means the Lightning are going to the final. I'm getting out ahead of it. I've already seen it online. Here we go. Corey Perry traded to Tampa. That's after yesterday it was reported that he wasn't willing to move. He wasn't willing to waive. Now, the interesting thing is I've seen people coming down on Frank Saravelli for that. But where I saw it wasn't necessarily from Frank. Now, whether that was from a source that used Frank as a source, that's where things get tricky this time of year. I try to see through the fog before I do. Going to the LA Kings, a second-round draft pick. So Corey Perry going to Tampa. Tampa goes to the Stanley Cup final. Very likely. So we'll see what happens there. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. The live stream will be going up in about 10 minutes time here, so the jersey will be wearing it. Decide what jersey you're wearing it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you.
I'd be a lot warmer and a lot happier with a belly full of meat.
Hello all, James here. Now this story involves another James, in fact Brian James, better known as the Road Dogg. He has reportedly left WWE because quite frankly he's not. Now, initial stories coming out states that the Road Dogg was actually fired from his creative role as a co-lead of WWE SmackDown's creative side. Creative shake-ups and other euphemisms were termed bandied around, essentially saying that he was fired, let go by WWE, but apparently that is not the case. So this is from PW Insider. They say, Mike Johnson does, that he received emails asking about a story being passed around that WWE Hall of Famer Road Dogg Brian James exited the company as part of a creative readjustment, and that is incorrect. As we reported earlier today, James quit the company. Earlier today, they put in the same sentence. We are told James did so in person. WWE sources have cited that James openly expressed his unhappiness and tendered his resignation from the creative team. Once again, James was not let go, and nothing that happened today was a result of WWE removing him. In fact, it was the exact opposite. He walked away from the job. Now, there's some other stuff there that I'll get to.
You've done us a great service.
This is particularly fascinating timing to me because I've been covering several segments from WWE's Unreal reality, quote-unquote reality show on Netflix, I think dropped at the end of January, or somewhere in January, I think, of this year. And more than any other episode that I've covered on this channel and other podcasts that I have, is episode 3 that featured LA Knight and, of course, Chelsea Green. Now, in one portion of the creative meeting that is revolving around Chelsea Green, Road Dogg suggests putting the women's US title back on Chelsea Green. Makes sense. She was the only woman who ever made that belt mean anything whatsoever, and she completely changed up her character to an ironic American patriotic kind of thing, complete with salute, irony being that she is a Pat Canadian, by the way. So it's sort of like, the fabulous Rougeaus in that sense when they turned heel many years ago. Now, Road Dogg is immediately met with resistance from this. I can't show you the video, unfortunately, but I'm going to try and give you the best idea that I can.
Everyone's passions of late.
So if you want to watch it yourself, please do.
Wish to master the
Triple H immediately resists him and says, well, if you do put the title back on Chelsea, and Road Dogg saying she's got something, she's basically a star, more than most other women in the roster, and I agree. Most people agree, as far as I can tell. Triple H immediately resists this idea, saying, well, who's she going to work with? Is she going to work with B-Fab and Meechin and whoever else it might be? But then, if Chelsea does end up working with some of the other, more recognisable stars like Alexa Bliss, Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, as the 3 names that Triple H gave, well, then obviously she's going to lose to them. So who is Chelsea going to work with following the title win? A Road Dogg, because it kind of seemed like it was off the cuff and hadn't really fully fleshed out the idea at the time. Just said, I guess, the same people that she worked with beforehand and has already beat. And then, therefore, the idea kind of peters out, which is a giant shame, because actually Chelsea would end up winning the title again. I'll get to that in a second.
You're here in the city and not out in Riverwood.
And Road Dogg's kind of like, well, this is the hill to die on kind of thing. He kind of gives up on the idea. But the issue here, once again, WWE Unreal, the show, really doesn't do themselves any favours whatsoever, because it just seems like that one segment is a microcosm of an even wider cultural problem in the WWE's creative meetings. Everybody is, for the most part, set in their ways. Always, of course, because he's the head of creative Triple H. Always deferred to Triple H, always want to please him, always be a yes man kind of thing. Whereas Road Dogg was immediately thinking, no, we should go this way instead. But ultimately, because if he hadn't flashed out the idea enough, or whatever else, it kind of went nowhere. And then there are certain people in the creative meetings, like Michael Hayes, who openly expressed his opinion that he didn't see anything in Chelsea Green beyond being a stepping stone for what he would term as the real stars in WWE to get over on. Now, Road Dogg once again casually suggests Chelsea go over. Triple H is not happy, but you can see in his face the frustration and his body language, the real frustration that he can't get this idea over to Triple H enough. Because surely it'd be enough as like, hang on, Chelsea is the star here, in amongst all the people that we mentioned.
Welcome, child.
And whatnot. And
the Gilded
pretty much peters out from that. Now,
it's a bit of an eyesore at the moment.
He knows in his mind
more of a problem for the pilgrims than for me, but not many of them around anymore.
So anyway, thinking of it now, wouldn't it be easier for Chelsea to actually work with Alexa? Because 1, she's a babyface, 2, she's a name, and 3, why not beat her? Because it's not like she's really done anything much since her return. Or how about someone from Raw instead? Because it's not like talent traits don't happen all the time with no rhyme or reason.
Even its name is an echo.
Anyway, eventually, Road Dogg
I've
gets
thought
talked down
about
from the idea.
Trees like this never really die. They only slumber. I think if we had some of the sap from the parent tree, we could wake up its child. But even if you could get to the elderly, you couldn't tap it. Not with any normal metal.
Before injuring herself in February. But
Elder game is older than metal, from a time before men or elves. To even affect it, you have to tap into the old magic. You'll have to deal with the hag ravens. I've heard about the weapon they've made for sacrificing Spriggans. It's called Nettlebane. The hag's terrifying, or I would have gone after it myself.
There is her profile on LinkedIn. And
your spirit is strong. Kinnaret's winds will guide your path.
To find it, but anyway,
it's held in a Hagraven nest called Orphan Rock.
As VP and lead writer for WWE's flagship live program, I oversee all creative development for Monday Night Raw, one of television's longest-running and highest-rated weekly shows. I pitch to and collaborate with executive leadership and across national rights teams to present on-form narrative strategy.
So sick, can hardly stand it.
The pain is so great.
WWE SmackDown in 2016, and at some point he tweeted out one of the most memorable tweets of all time, saying wins and losses don't matter. Essentially in wrestling, where of course wins and losses matter incredibly in pro wrestling.
Have you got the Nettlebane back from those filthy haggard...
being a sport, or even being a pseudo-sport, in that sense. Now, he once claimed that his most proud moment as part of the writing team on WWE SmackDown on the first run, anyway, was coming up with and following through with the Kofi Kingston underdog champion storyline. Now, that being said, shortly after Kingston won the title at WrestleMania 35, Road Dogg resigned from the head writer job for SmackDown. And then he ended up, once again, due to creative differences, he wasn't fired again there, he resigned. And instead he spent the next few years in WWE's Performance Center before WWE ended up letting him go back in 2022. Now, Brian was rehired no less than 7 months later, replacing Jeff Jarrett as WWE's Senior Vice President of Live Events. And then he rejoined not too long afterwards WWE SmackDown once again in a creative capacity, and he became the co-head writer of SmackDown in 2025, I think. Anyway, Road Dogg remains... He's not completely divorced from WWE, it needs to be said. Road Dogg remains signed to a WWE Legends deal. So,
unlike the rest of my family,
is because the same day that he left, walked out WWE executive, they announced him to be one of the signees, one of the people you can get an autograph and photo with, I guess, a WWE World event, which is, I guess, attached to WrestleMania this year in Las Vegas. So, it'll be interesting to see if he actually turns up to that. But once again, he's still under a Legends deal. I figure that he's still going to go to that.
You've been talking to those.
That's pretty much it. So, I doubt he's quit the Legends deal portion of his WWE contract. He's certainly left the creative role.
My fault.
And that is the news. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you for the next video.
They wanted me to prove my worth. So they threw me up against a young whelp of a lad, hardly old enough to grow his first chin hairs. I guess I thought a woman wasn't strong enough to hurt him. I didn't mean for him to die. Why would I want that? I just lost control. What do you need to take?
Right then, let's go to it. So these are fan questions submitted a couple of months ago. I'm sorry to say, so not sorry to say, we just don't ask for them very often. But once again, to remind you, we will be soliciting questions once again for future episodes. Take a drink of fan question episodes that we do once a month at this rate.
Need a ride?
And here is the first one.
Where do you want to go?
Asks, which move should be retired from
Climb
wrestling,
back and we'll
either
be
because
off.
of overuse, unbelievability, or safety reasons? Now, I've had to admit to this. I've said one move for each reason that needs to go. So one for overuse, one for unbelievability, or one for safety reasons.
There is one move that needs to be banned for all three of those reasons. That is to dive to multiple people on the outside.
Hold there. Before I let you into Riften,
it's overused all the time on TVs. It's nothing special. Most times,
the privilege of entering the city.
The unbelievability
What does it matter?
Is everybody starts to go kumbaya.
Keep your voice down. You want everyone to hear you?
For the person to die.
I'll let you in.
The safety reason
unlock
is
the gate.
more times than not, and we have a ton of what went wrong, right? They don't
Gates unlocked.
You
can head inside when you're ready.
People, once you call the bystander effect, the more people that are there, they're going to be like, well, they got it. And everybody's thinking that, and guess what? Nobody got it.
Be careful, Neil. The thieves guild has Maven Blackbriar.
I don't know you. You and Riften looking for trouble? Yeah, well, I got news for you. There's nothing to see here. Last thing the Blackbriars need is some strangers. The Blackbriars have me. I'm Maul. I watch the streets for them. If you need dirt on anything, I'm your guy. Then we're speaking the same language.
There's always that thing, like I said.
So what do you want to know?
Scott Hall's kid actually got the young bucks right on top of him on a similar
The only
move.
thing I heard is a rumor that a boy named Aventus Aretino in Windhelm has been attempting to contact the Dark Brotherhood. He used to live here in Riften at the orphanage on the other side of town, but I think he ran away. You're kidding. My brother Dirge, I used to run with them. If you want to get in on that action, find Brynjolf in the marketplace. I'm sure he could use someone like you. Well, she's also got ties to the Dark. Just remember, if she tells you to do something, you damn well better do exactly what she says.
And this is the height of the thing, and they are down, double down. We gotta go.
I know.
That's another thing.
How was I to know the shipment would
only on a point where there's actually interest to see.
Heed my words.
And next thing you know, they're
the return of the dragons is not mere coincidence.
From the break.
This is one of the signs. The signs that Lady Mara is displeased with your constant inebriation.
It's so good. Looks like you've already got someone with you.
I like Raw more than most.
And embrace
from yesterday,
the teachings
but
of the
commercials
handmaiden
were
of kind.
outrageous. There were like two sets of commercials per match. And it was, I think it was Dragon Lee and Gunther.
Commercials.
What do you need to
There were
take?
like 11.
Some sort of an understanding?
No, I know that, but there were 11. But you managed to get in between segments. In between advertising segments as well.
I'm heading home
that we have
if you need me.
Commercials to matches on a wrestling show.
Enough, Mara.
3 times.
We've all heard of the dragons and their return.
Go ahead. What do you like about Rob?
Hi there.
Yeah.
Lead the way.
No, I didn't like this bit. There was like Gunther and Dragon Lee, and I think there were 2 commercials through that. And Dragon Lee was like beating up Gunther.
We're not kicking you
Gunther
out.
like dropped him over the barricade into the ring timekeeper area. Straight to the commercial. And then all you get when you get back is Michael Cole says, "It's all been Gunther the entire time." It's like, oh, okay.
Well, do you see my problem with it? On the spot where it lays the baby face out usually, or it's a heat spot most times, where now you want to kind of see how the baby face is going to like overcome this from the lowest point. When you cut to a commercial and completely disconnected from that. So they used to be clever on SmackDown. Remember with the picture-in-picture all the time? There was a time where they wouldn't cut to a full commercial, but hey, what about the main events of Raw? I don't
have any business with you, so get out of my face.
Remember they were doing like 10:30 or 10:35? You would get the entrances of maybe half the people, then you would get a backstage pre-tape, then you would get a commercial, then you would come back, other people's entrances, another backstage the match wouldn't start for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, but at least that's the main event. And then afterwards, back in the day, the commentator, Jim Ross or whoever, would say,
"Need a ride?
We've taken our last commercial break. We will stick with this match for as long as it takes."
Can take you to any of the hold capitals.
They should do that more often. And even front
You can get a room at the beach. Oh, and if you meet Maven Blackbriar.
They started doing occasionally. They say this first hour is going to be commercial free, which means that the other 2 hours
back and we'll
are
be
commercial full to make up for it. Before we get on the tangent, because you said the moonsault thing, just as an example, we're not going to do what went wrong because you've seen it a million times. It happened on Dynamite. Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale didn't catch Penelope Ford, who was doing the moonsault to the floor. And then
a Twitter thing, right?
Yeah, and then so many people blamed Harley Cameron specifically for some reason. It was their fault because they weren't close enough together. And then Harley Cameron's now deleted Twitter or deactivated for now because so many people were hounding her for it. But then I was thinking, well, if Tiffany Stratton keeps getting injured, and she's a trained gymnast and trampolinist back in the day,
This one needs
and she keeps hitting her head on the floor and like going in for concussion protocol or whatever, what chance has everybody else got to,
It's a nip in the
stick
air.
this landing?
Cold
So
won't be good for
Moonsault
my
thing
crops.
is
Never is.
really, really kind of ridiculous. And then you've got the Leon Slater thing in TNA, where he was just doing it, diving off 12 people, and Mark Cardona and a couple of others were like diving away from him to not have to catch him.
But that's reality based though. I'd be diving out the way too. I was going to say that girl's better off. Just keep her social media deleted. Just do that.
Yeah,
so you're better off.
Okay, has dives to the outside ever been done right then?
Well, yeah, I would say when it was featured as a special attraction type thing, I would say Monday Nitro with the luchadors, with the cruiserweights, that kind of stuff. There's psychology in that as well. So you have people like Rey Mysterio. I would even go back to say we always mention that when it comes to things being done the right way, Brett's very underrated with that middle rope dive that he would do. And he would do it at the right time when it needed to be done. I think Owen was very good when it came to doing certain things on the outside. I would think about this. Taker didn't do that big soaring dive over the top rope every single week. That's a WrestleMania spot for the most part. Roman Reigns doesn't pull that out a whole lot. So the guys that have their basic fundamentals of psychology implement that dive when it does make sense. And obviously, with the Baker thing, obviously, with that Shawn Michaels match, stick his kid, not catching him. I still swear he got Pogo stick. He must have just missed it. It just did the turn. But it's every bit the person, psychology-wise, catching the person and making them out look unbelievable. These three things: overuse, unbelievability, safety reasons, or safety concerns. They all have to be overthought, before you go out there and figure it out. It's not just walking through the fast tag.
It's done then.
You got to catch them.
Yes.
It's got to be the
We're
why.
quartered in the hall of the Vigilance.
If you're not going to do it right, which basically, what are we talking about?
His compassion where
in the
not
high 90% of the time, it's not done as anything else as you said. It's a disconnect spot, actually, because it leads to a commercial break almost every single time. So why do it? I don't want people, like, on a point where we're most interested in my match, going up and taking a bath during the commercial.
What about someone the size of Keith Lee, for example, doing dives over the ropes? Does that cheapen it for the smaller guys, or do you encourage the occasional big man who can do these kinds of things like Bam Bam Bigelow and Vader, that kind of thing? Keith Lee, of course. Should they be doing dives like this, or should they be special when they're big, or should they not do them at all?
It all depends. I mean, why would Keith Lee need to even do that? I watched his debut match. It popped up in my feed not too long ago. And, dude, he just basically hit that kid with the pounce. And the kid's up in the air. Like, I thought it should have been like a really quick match. It went a little longer. But Keith Lee is impressive just doing regular moves athletically in the ring. The dive is just something, let's be honest. And if I could do it, I probably would have done it a whole lot more. It really is just kind of showing off. Like a big guy like Keith Lee just wants to prove he can do it. It's not. This would fit in great, psychology-wise, into our match. What's the saying you say? They create a match because of a stipulation, like the Slim Jim tables, and they're trying to shoehorn the dive in there into a match to make it make sense, instead of saying, well, this match has the psychology where the dive is warranted because this dude is so big. He's the only one that can catch me. I'm not going to dive on him because I am actually
take a look at this. Some of the Jarl's men came by and left it.
You know what I mean.
Have you seen that shrine of Azura?
Any more
They
moves
say the Dark Elves built it after they fled from Morrowind.
Fly, the
Let's sate that appetite.
Canadian Destroyer, or various version of the Destroyer, whatever country you want to put in front of it. Stuff like that, where it's completely cooperative and was once a finisher and now is just a transitional move. Even from the top of the cage, these are now transitional moves. Apart from on Raw last night, when Penta actually did win the IC title from Dominic with a Mexican
You're
Destroyer.
that visitor. Sure thing.
And it looked
it's
terrible
yours for a day.
because Dominic didn't flip over anywhere near enough. But what about moves like that? They're just like the obvious cooperation ones.
I'm the innkeeper.
Well, let's
It's my
go with
business
this,
to
because
keep
I'm
track
looking
of
at a word
strangers.
called overuse, which doesn't really translate
I'm quite proud of myself.
unbelievability or
This
safety
is
concerns,
probably the
although
longest I've gone without
it can be a
tripping over
safety
rock.
concern with the DDTs we're going to talk about later, comparing Gangrel to Raven, and also we have a top 5 list of who I believe are the best people to do the DDT. But the DDT and the super kick are two of the most overused moves ever. And that's something that doesn't need to be stopped, but we need to make those finishes again. Because I watch Raven, I watch Gangrel hitting, and even Jake Roberts hitting those DDTs, and I'm like, it's not like they look so much better than today's DDTs, but they're finishers. Does that make sense? So I didn't answer your question. If you could ask it again, so I can put it in context, but I just wanted to get that because the overuse thing is sometimes separated from the unbelievability
to protect
and
yourself
safety reasons.
or
But that
deal
dive
some
to the floor and
damage?
the moonsaults, that takes the Triple Crown.
The main event is Batista versus Big Show. An absolute catastrophe of a main event, so it was. Because if you ever thought that WWE Creative ever had its finger on the pulse,
What do you want me to carry?
they genuinely thought that this match would be warmly received by the ECW faithful, who, if nothing else, was the epitome of WWE over the decades since the 80s, or even longer. Slow-moving giants lumbering around and bodybuilders. That is what ECW was not, because it was supposed to be everything that wasn't WWF. And then they present them this. Is it hard enough to overstate how bad... Okay, one, how bad of a decision it was, but also how little Vince McMahon actually knows the ECW or Bruce Pritchard or whoever else.
This year, this entire show, in a way, but especially this match, just proved to me that they were trolling the fans, that they were telling them exactly what they weren't going to give them. Or maybe it will give you a little bit here. And like I said, you know, Bob goes through the table and cuts his back. It's like, ECW is back, baby. No, it's not. That was not meant to happen. And I wouldn't want, if we can go back in time, I wouldn't want that moment for Bob nor Rob. But this moment, yeah, I wouldn't want this moment for the ECW fans as well. This feels like a rip on the fans. It feels like a rip on the ECW guys that really wanted this promotion to be something, at least something like the old ECW. You couldn't have everything, obviously, but it felt like it was also a rip on Batista and the Big Show and everybody that saw it as a promotion. In other words, they're like, hey, wouldn't it be funny to put Batista and Big Show and Hammerstein Ballroom? That's where it was, right? Wouldn't it be funny to put them in there, make it a world title match? Oh, the fans will love that. Made it memorable, that's for sure.
Hey, it was memorable. Boy, was it long. But I don't even give them that much credit. I just think that they genuinely thought, because I think Bruce Pritchard's in an interview somewhere, some talking head thing, where he says, hey, it's a great match. Hey, you know, the fans will love this. They genuinely thought like the fans would like this. And it just goes to show that they just so out of touch. Even 20 years ago, they were completely out of touch with what fans wanted.
And guess you had a guy in the building that could tell you what the ECW fans wanted. You got many guys, but one guy in particular, Paul Heyman. Why don't you just let Paul Heyman book ECW, then you use the, quote, filter of Vince McMahon to say, nah, too far, too much, a little bit here, but not literally. Paulie should have been. I'm saying this as somebody that would have never. I think WWE somehow has our recording feed here because they shut off my camera. It's overheat. I get so much heat, especially with Paul Heyman. That's what we're going to get to. My camera shut off. But the point I was going to make was, if this person was in charge of booking, I would not stand 2 milliseconds of ECW TV. And I would still say it was best to have Paul in complete creative control of ECW with a slight filter to take out the stuff the sponsors would probably leave for and stuff like that. I'd rather have Paul go way out of here, cast that wide net, and kind of be tightened up a little bit. But we can say, without a shadow of a doubt, that Paul Heyman had nothing to do with the booking of this show, especially the main event. And Paul had managed the Big Show as champion, correct?
Yeah, so that was like the big story, but that was because Rob Van Dam was suspended.
Yeah, but they made Paul stand out there in the crowd as the manager of Big Show and have all this secondhand embarrassment of watching his baby. Do you see what I mean? I might be speculating, but think about this. No, Paul, you be out there at Big Show and just watch your entire passion project that you put your life into just die a not-so-slow death.
So Stephanie McMahon was the lead writer for ECW, wasn't she? Did she wear her backwards leather cap?
Dude, I'm telling you, I didn't know that till this point, but I don't doubt it.
I think that Heyman had to run everything through her, I think, at this point.
Well, with her immense amount of experience, you know, in the real world and the Everman and watching ECW.
You know what's so frustrating is, like, Shane McMahon was still there, and he loved ECW.
Nice to get out and see
He would have been. He wanted to do it on live streaming before there was barely any live streaming at that point.
Yeah, but Shane was supposed to be directly involved more. Remember I told you initially what it was supposed to be? Tommy and Shane was supposed to help run it. Shane and Tommy, even Rob with the ideas that he had. The agents that were supposed to come in were supposed to be former ECW people. And then they were going to try to do dedicated TV tapings or live TVs, like you said, live streaming, our own set of house shows. And that's kind of the way it started. Like, that was one of the things in the show notes that Paul wanted everything separate with a unique feel, a unique look. And then it just turned into Sunday Night Heat or Velocity.
Let's get to the match itself. Batista. He's walking to the ring. Pretty much loses his rag straight away with the fan at ringside. He's the babyface. And this feels like, you know, like how, I guess, comparatively pro wrestling in the 2000s was, you know, sanitized for your protection, that kind of thing. And this feels like the very first time Batista had been thrown to the wolves, in a sense, and he cannot handle it at all. Once again, he's the babyface. He was told by people in the back before him, they will probably boo me. Why they thought that Batista would be booed, but yet thought this would be a great main event, I don't know. Those two facts kind of go alongside. They don't work hand in hand.
Let me say this, though. This is the same company that had Batista versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 30 and locked out Daniel Bryan before they finally tried it, the S movement, to have that happen. They were going to have Batista versus the most tone-deaf main event probably in a long time, with Daniel Bryan being blocked out of that. And I think that was when he got eliminated early in the Rumble. It's booed everybody from that point on. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I remember that. Goodness me, do I remember that. And then The Rock. Is it the same one where The Rock's over Roman Reigns?
No, Roman won that one. Roman won that one. That was...
No, I'm saying The Rock turned up at the end to endorse Roman Reigns. Oh, my God. Why did you go back to Philly?
They turned to they weren't ever Chinese ECW people don't do anymore. They're just a regular TKO.
Okay, right, two things. Is Batista overly sensitive, or two, should not have this, and that walkway to the ring was so tight. And I know that ECW had some like tight walkways, but this one was like you couldn't go anywhere without being smacked by the fans on the way. This is just kind of like a bit like more logistics by WWE in a sense, to force people to basically deal with people answering you constantly. And also, I'm also going to mention this. Big Show was one man particularly
yeah, it was definitely something. And by the way, when you do that, you never win against the fans, right? They see that you're selling. And for people that were so good at not selling backstage, they were not. And that's the thing with the entryway. That's what I really like about it. I mean, this is me being a heel. It's still like you're in a sea of people. It reminded me of the old WWF. As a matter of fact, when they used to come out with people, to see the people, with the Hammerstein ball, they may not be as greedy as TKO is now. We'll get to that story later. But You block off an extra, what, 3 to 5 feet on each side. The building might look empty. When you block it out like that, they were trying to get as many people into Hammerstein as possible. So, or maybe, here's another thing, quite possibly, they thought that everybody would love it. In the wrestling bubble, with their lack of self-awareness, what do? And they keep going back to that. We just talked about Daniel Bryan. We talked about the Roman Reigns thing. We talked about a multitude of things where they're just like, you know, it'd be cool. Batista versus Big Show. Main event, baby. Hammerstein.
It's in earnest. That's why I think this is in earnest. They thought this, right? Anyway, fans boo Batista. Fans boo Big Show. They don't even know why was he Batista there? Because he wasn't in ECW. They just dumped him in for one match.
Because they figured, obviously, this is just the analogy I can think of right off the bat now. It's like any indie promotion. And I think they really did look at this as a secondary promotion, secondary brand, with people that weren't good enough or people that had to be demoted down to ECW. But if we bring in the big star, remember, famous last words by any indie promoter, let's pay this guy a bunch of money, bring him in, and he'll draw the house. They thought that all the WWE, protected promotion and protected booking of Batista, because they didn't protect Big Show. That's a guy they should have protected from day one to be Andre the Giant. But with Batista, he had nothing but positive kind of reinforcement from the office from day one to this. So, of course, he's going to look and say, they've done everything I wanted them to do as a babyface and a heel character. What could go wrong? Well, the ECW fan base could go wrong. That's what could go wrong.
Well, toilet paper was thrown in the ring, and all the booing started happening. Joey charitably calls the reaction mixed. Very charitably. For Taz just says, dude, it's 100% booze. Same with Big Show, they're all booing him. This kind of had... You mentioned this. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 20. You know that kind of, the crowd has so gotten to you before the bell is even rang that this would be nothing but a complete calamity of a match. And then they put on... We can talk about the match itself, but I mean... Are there any other examples where people just turn on the match before the bell rings to this extent?
No, I mean, that example of WrestleMania 20 is probably the closest one I can think of. And then the endings of those two Rumbles where fans audibly booed. But not so audibly because you said they edited out all the boos out of this.
Yes. Well, on the international broadcast where this was not broadcasting live, they overdubbed the negative chants with a 5-minute long ECW chant.
Just a constant one?
Yeah, and then they have Joey and Taz re-record their lines to not or remove the lines where they reference the crowd boos and stuff. So they were that desperate to paper over the glaring cracks of this thing.
But that encapsulates WWE and wrestling in general. Let's not go with it. Let's not listen to the fans. Let's pivot and see. No, let's just ignore everything and chant wash this. Is that a term? Take all the chants out and put our positive chants in.
Is there any crowd that's gotten to you personally over the years where a reaction or whatever they were chanting at you completely threw you off your game or actually upset you?
Not that I can think of. I mean, you got to remember, this is what are we talking about now? 32 years, 31 years ago, that literally people, they blow up sheep and they were like a beach ball, chanting Steve after Steve. So early on, I got, wearing Daisy Dukes and a half shirt, my ego kind of got checked pretty quickly. And also, starting out as somebody that was kind of a pretty prominent heel in ECW, not having a clue as to what to do. And that was also good, too, because if they got to me, I still stuck there, created spots after a while that would feed them even more. So in essence, my reaction was I've never seen anything like this before. This is very odd. And obviously being a worker, you're thinking, is it real or is it not real? Because everything, even today, you're looking at injuries, all this stuff going, is it real? Is it work? Seth Rollins' thing was the one that kind of tripped everybody up recently with the leg injury and then coming out and cashing in. So we've been predisposed to not believe anything that we see or anything that we hear. And with this, you're kind of wondering, but with Brett going to WCW and this being done, spitting on Vince, wrecking the entire outside the ring commentary area and everything, and then doing WCW, which back then, WWE never mentioned, or WWF at the time, never mentioned WCW, even though there was a Monday Night War. They sort of did the Billionaire Ted stuff. They parodied it, but they never gave it any kind of credence.
I don't feel
Which
as
even
trapped
then,
anymore.
during that part of the Attitude Era, it was like, oh my God, you said WCW, you said Nitro, or even when Nitro went out and out to give you the finishes of every taped show, that was taboo. That was really exciting and a little bit like, ooh, this is, how's this going to play out? But this was the ultimate, what's going to happen next? Like, it was, the boys were watching this stuff more than the fans in a way. Like, what's going to happen next? Are people going to quit, give their notice, not want to work for Vince? Are they never going to trust? I mean, you should never trust a wrestling promoter. Are they ever going to trust Vince when he says, yes, you go out there, here's the finish? I'm sure there was a time where people were like, is he going to screw me next?
Right. Let's go to the Montreal thing. So we've got your opinion on what happened. You didn't know if it was real or anything. Did you ever call up the 1-900 lines?
I wanted you to have this.
Did you ever do that?
Token of my affection.
It's really great we're friends. I was hoping to find some way to thank you. I hope this does the trick.
You know, when people said,
Thank you so much. Some may call this junk. Me, I call them treasures.
What did Raven and anybody else you were hanging about with at the time think?
No, this is a strange time because my communication with Raven or anybody from the flock, we're talking about November, and I was just about out, and it was beginning of December where I announced my, quote, retirement from the business in early December. So I was kind of in the desert in a way, and I obviously was not communicating with Raven because it really wasn't worth talking to him about anything at that point. So I was kind of on an island all my way out in the desert, as I just said, watching it as myself as a worker and saying, oh my God, this is, like, it felt like kind of like the end of the wrestling world in a way, but it was actually the beginning of something crazy and exciting and ultra, ultra profitable. So who would have known? But it almost didn't turn out that way.
Well, that's exactly where, because you told me beforehand, it's like, well, the Montreal thing didn't have to happen at all. And you're right, it didn't have to happen for a multitude of reasons like that. And we can back and forth. I wrote a lot about it in my own heart book, so we've got some of the facts still in my head, or best I know facts anyway. But why did you say, because you saved it for now, so I don't know what you're going to say, why do you say that the Montreal Screwjob nearly didn't happen?
No, I'm saying the Attitude Era nearly never happened. Yeah. The Montreal Screwjob, I don't know how you could have avoided it in a way. I know how you could have avoided it. And you skip right to play. Like Cornette was part of that whole thing. He tells it a lot.
I'll never pass up the opportunity to spend some time in Riverwood.
But he was talking about, he supposedly came up with, well, why don't you just screw him? Or why don't you double cross him? And then Vince was like, whoa. And then other people are saying they came up with the Montreal Screwjob or double crossing Brett. But it's definitely something that should have been handled a lot earlier. And here's how you avoid the Montreal Screwjob. The only way, but maybe not the way you could financially. You keep Brett, you honor the contract. That's the only way to avoid it, correct? Because this was the 20-year deal at whatever amount of money that Brett agreed to, Vince agreed to, and then Vince turned around and said, I can't afford it, and let him negotiate with WCW.
What's a milk drinker like you doing
His
out
thing
here?
is that I think
Go
people
home.
get wrong about
What are you
Montreal.
going to do?
Is that wasn't
I don't have
Brett's
to
last
take that
night.
from you.
That was far from Brett's last night. He didn't even debut in WCW until like late December. So he had some weeks left of his contract. And Eric at least claimed at the time he was amenable enough to let Bret work with the WWF through to January of 1998. So there were so many ways that the belt could have been taken off Bret. And I understand his issues with Shawn. You know, it's a campaign of a year and a half practically of he thinks that Shawn's against him and he's said things to his face where he basically disrespected him to his face kind of thing, and then Bret...
He never put him over, that's what Shawn said.
Bret says...
After Bret said he would put him over, right? Yeah.
So, once again, Bret's always right. But I completely understand Bret's point of view. It's like, well, I'm not going to make this dude who apparently, one, has a problem with me, and two, has no respect for the business or anything else kind of thing. Or, you know, Bret's position in the business. But there were so many people he could have dropped the title to. He said he'd drop it before Survivor Series. He said he would drop it afterwards. What people forget is that, you know what, the first WWF... I don't know if it was the first title defense Shawn ever did, but it might as well have been. He was against the Brooklyn Brawler at Madison Square Garden in an untelevised match. Because the month before, there was a #1 contenders battle royal in Madison Square Garden. And Pat Patterson, of all people, would you believe, thought, wouldn't it be funny if a true outside won it, and Steve Lombardi ended up winning it? And then they completely forgot about that, and they were like, oh no, now we've got to do this match because he won the battle royal. So it ended up being Shawn and Brooklyn Brawler. It wasn't the main event, but it was in the middle of the card. And they had really good, a pretty good match, I believe, if nothing else. I've not heard. I've not seen it myself personally.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about that? You don't want to pull a rib at the mecca of WWE. The Garden back then do not play games. They say, wouldn't it be, you know, it'd be funny. It's like that version of, you know, it'd be cool. You know, it'd be funny if this guy won. Nobody will remember. And the Garden, you don't mess with that crowd. They will remember. And if you want to go, even if it's the Brooklyn Brawl, so it's kind of like they're going to cheer him on because he's in their area, their neighborhood. But I was going to get back to this. With Bret saying he would do all that, Bischoff saying he would do business in a way to let Bret drop the title. If they even extended it somewhere into mid or the third week of January, where usually the Royal Rumble happened, could you imagine if it was like, this is the first
something.
Royal
I'm collecting
Rumble
ingredients to bring to the... You have heard of the Gourmet.
Will defend the title in the Rumble.
Then you know,
for all I know,
you know, I've heard the Gourmet is in Skyrim right now.
WWF champion, but Bret never got pinned for the title.
I better get going.
That's kind of a way where everybody could be happy if you just waited it out. But then again, dude, we would neglect. WWF would still be in financial trouble, and there would be no Mr. McMahon. Let's get to that, because that might have never happened. That's what I'm saying. There wouldn't have been all these stars that would have come out from the Attitude Era. That's why
to that end, I think Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon would have still happened in a way, because I think their first interaction, I can't remember if it was just before or just after, but they have like a brief interaction and then they just drop it for months on end.
Well, plus Austin stunned McMahon in the Garden when he won.
Yeah. It's the best sound. You've got to admit. I mean, it's the
no,
it takes
not. What are you kidding me? Love it. That big. Can't sell the same as life. Come on. This is the best song Vince McMahon ever did. It's this. When Flair won, it would say, "Wow, we're partners."
Oh, it does. That is amazing.
But can I explain why it almost never happened? All the stuff you're talking about could have never happened. Because after Bret, we're going to get back to the events in there, maybe. Bret knocked Vince out, gave him a black eye. Vince came on to, whatever the old, primetime set, it looked like where JR interviewed him, but it was more muted, where they were kind of,
it looked like degrees from each other as well. Like, he'd have really weird makeup.
That's where Vince did the Bret screwed Bret, right? So, after that, this is from Vince Russo, after that, and he did that, he really believed in it. He thought the fans would be on Vince McMahon's side as a babyface, and Bret would be the heel. The time-honored tradition, passing the torch, whatever the cliches and catchphrases are. After that, Vince Russo was right there. Everybody was telling him, this is great. We should play. Vince wanted to just forget about it and move on. And everybody on the inner circle, all the S-men, all the ass-kissers said, yes, we need to just sweep it under the rug, forget it, move on. You're still a babyface. You're the babyface in this. Are you crazy? You could be the biggest heel. I'm not paraphrasing. You need to lean into this. Lean into the whole thing that you're the boss, that screwed Brett, all that stuff. It finally convinced Vince to basically not what we saw, but the birth of Mr. McMahon. So basically telling Mr. McMahon's truth, and here we go. Without that little pivot, if they swept it under the rug, I can sure as heck guarantee you that there wouldn't be a Mr. McMahon versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Even with one because Austin was stunning everybody, but he didn't have the ultimate arch rival and villain. What everybody had a 9-to-5 job, everybody who worked really heavily, YouTube and sponsors, you have to have a villain. And usually the villain is your boss, the person you work for. Almost nobody likes their boss. Matter of fact, mostly everybody, especially now, hates corporate America, hates their boss. There should be TKO could be the new Mr. McMahon in 2025. Everybody hates TKO. Can you imagine if they brought Vince back and say, this is TKO's pick to run WWE?
Hi,
that's the only thing to save Triple H.
I'm not sworn
Triple
to
H
carry your
versus
burdens,
Vince
but
would make Triple H a babyface once again.
Well, I don't know, maybe more 8-minute introductory packages he voices over could do it.
Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show.
But I'm telling you right now, dude, that saved the company. And you could say anything you want about Russo, but that, how should I say, devil on the shoulder when everybody else is telling Vince, you're amazing, you're great, don't, Brett's an asshole, whatever. That's what saved the company.
I think sort of like the theme of what we're saying is like, could this be prevented? Yeah, of course it could. There's a couple more things I want to make mention of. One, Vince McMahon, according to Brett anyway, was constantly taking Sean's side, regardless of who was at fault, because obviously he's not in the room, but he's always taking Sean's side. So therefore that's, sowing more seeds of resentment in Brett, of course. But the other one is I believe this might have been earlier in the day in Montreal, or maybe a week before or days before, I don't know. But Vince is laying out scenarios where Brett can finally lose to Sean, or whatever it might be, and I think it culminates in like a 4-way match, where he's lost every match up until that 4-way, and then I think he loses again. And he says, and then like the idea was maybe go on Raw the next night and say, if I don't win this match, then I'll retire or whatever it will, and then he finally wins. But it's like, why would you trust Vince on the way out, especially in '97? Why would you trust Vince, who's telling you are going to lose every single match on your way out until the last one, kind of thing?
That's a good point.
Why do you have to trust? And Brett turned it down straight away.
He's already told you exactly who he is right then and there, right?
Yeah.
During the course of but what's Vince supposed to do? Should people put people on the way out? Vince, you put the belt on Brett. So Vince booked himself into this mess as well.
And it's the Jeff Jarrett thing. We were just saying with Jeff Jarrett before, he turned up with the China thing. Why did you let his contract run out while he was still champion? And
well, this company let the Rock's contract run out.
Yeah, that might have different reasons, though. That might have been on purpose.
What I'm saying is they let people's contracts run out, or Vince made a deal that at the time seemed to be the 20-year, multi-million-dollar deal. It seemed so preposterous in a way, but in another way, when you're looking as time went on, it was a pretty company-friendly contract over time. And how much more? And I'm sure Brett thinks about this more than we're about to say. How much longer? For some reason, WCW was cursed when WWE people went over there at this particular point. How many more classics, how many more moments would we have gotten from Bret Hart selfishly as fans if he never went to WCW? Think about that.
I think that is lost in time to a point, is that Bret didn't want to go. He would have rather have made $10.5 million over 20 years with the WWF for more dates, and keep in mind it's front-loaded. So he would have been like, I don't know, I think it's like 1.25 maybe for the first couple of years as an active wrestler, and then he retires or goes part-time in a couple of years, and then he makes $500,000 a year, whatever it is. But the thing is that he wanted to make less than half the money in the first 3 years compared to WCW for more dates. He would rather, and I think it's fair to say for Bret, he is, and I'll say this in the best possible way for Bret, because he took himself seriously. More people should take themselves seriously like Bret did. But he was a mark for himself. But he knew that WCW was not the place he should be. That was proved over time. Proved very quickly, in fact. He wanted to be with the WWF. He wanted to work for Vince McMahon. He wanted to be the company guy. And here's the other thing that gets me. Vince says, we can't afford your contract. And then it's, they're taking the water coolers out the office, is the saying. They were looking at downgrading it to being a regional company, supposedly, around this time. Then weirdly, at SummerSlam 97, they're threatening to give away $1 million in a fan giveaway, but they didn't actually give away that money anyway. But the crazy thing is that why couldn't they afford Bret's contract? I bet he could have done the entire time. Because especially by the beginning of 98, business and ticket sales were already way up. They could have completely afforded his contract. So that's why I think the conspiracy comes in, is that Vince, maybe with Sean's say-so, or trying to get into his ear or whatever, Vince really did want to get rid of Bret.
That's an interesting, and actually, that's a possible theory. You know why? It seems like he's running the same playbook that he ran with Savage.
And Hogan. Both.
And Hogan.
Yeah, they get into their late 30s.
Yeah, Bret became not part of the new generation anymore, right? We're trying to get a youth movement and a younger generation. And that's what Savage said, he'll get a second opinion. That was a great line.
Yes?
I want to say this. If
All
Bret
right,
did stay, think about it. You just said ticket sales, even if they kept the current contract, on stock options alone when they went public, Bret could have cashed in off of that. Not right away, but he would have got a ton of stock options.
Bradshaw did. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He sold the first day when he got all the stock.
Oh, really? But imagine if Bret held on to it until now. TKO took it over. You're around $200 a share right now?
Yeah, I think at the time, like the shares were like $15, and then they sold to under 10 for like over a decade, and they only started coming up around when the WWE Network, 2014. Then they went up to like $30 a share, and then the next huge jump was when the WWE SmackDown on Fox deal was made in 2019, I believe. I don't know if it was announced in 2018, but that's when the stock,
like November 1st or something, 2019, something.
Yeah, that's when the stock jumped like massively for the second time.
Yeah, but think about that too. Then you got Bret as part of the company and maybe a legend, maybe an agent, maybe office management. Then TKO takes over, or you got all these billion-dollar TV deals where there's more money. Bret could probably turn around and maybe get some kind of. He would have made many more millions of dollars than the $3 million per year or whatever he got at WCW for the short time. He would have, and I'm sure he's getting paid from WWE right now. I'm sure he's made appearances throughout the years. He made the money back, but you can imagine when he stayed there, he didn't tarnish in his mind his legacy at all. Going to WCW, and then the IPO, then the TV licensing deals, then TKO buys WWE. Even the Saudi Arabia money, in a way, not that he would wrestle, but maybe if Goldberg never kicked him and he never got a stroke, he might have had a match and got millions of dollars for one match.
Maybe.
I mean, we're talking, like, this is what if, this is all in theory, like, maybe going to WCW potentially derailed the way it looks. Its career ended it way, way, way too early.
Yeah, the reason why I mentioned the Vince thing is because, well, could the Montreal screw job have been avoided? And I think all the reasons for somebody who was sane.
I don't claim
yes,
welcome
to
War Mate. Take a look.
100 times over. I think at some point Vince decided that he was sick of Bret, or his salary was upsetting the apple cart because Shawn and Undertaker were making Sting money.
Good doing business with you.
And Brett was making something like 1.25. I guess
Sting money. I don't know what's
I think it's 700 or 750.
Oh, 750 was what Shawn was making.
Yeah. So that'll be Sting money, I think. I can't remember if it's 700 or 750 at the moment. But there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. Have we ever come up with a definitive list of who knew about the Montreal screw job? So I wanted to throw this out at you. Wherever the list is. Vince, yes. Shawn, yes. Triple H, undoubtedly so, we think. And if Triple H knew, China probably knew. So we'll say that. Jerry Briscoe knew, because he was teaching Shawn defensive, whatever it was.
I remember he's trying to teach him how to shoot and everything.
Yeah. Earl Hebner did, of course. Vince Russo said he didn't know. Jim Cornette said he didn't know, but they both may have... Russo's claimed that he may have suggested it. Jim Cornette,
what happened to Traveling Light?
Has said he suggested this kind of thing, but didn't realise they were actually going to implement it. Bruce Pritchard has said he absolutely didn't know. Pat Patterson said he absolutely didn't know. Which rises to the weird theory here, who played the music? Which makes me think one of two things.
Have you met my father?
One, Bruce Pritchard didn't know, because I believe the guy who made Coldplay music at the time.
I'm not sure, but that Bruce was right there in Gorilla all the time and would give cues to the referee, and my assumption is also music.
So it's possible Kevin Dunn knew, it's possible Curtis Silfies or whoever was directing the truck knew as well, or were told that this music needs to play. Someone sorted out the queuing up of music. The only one that I'm not absolutely sure on at all, and I'd love to ask him, is Sergeant Slaughter, because he was out there with Vince on the floor.
What I would say is, I can see what Vince is saying. You got to give him some credit, because he acted like I and only I alone are the core people that are involved with this need to know, and it would hurt everybody, not that the agents or management of a pro wrestling company have much credibility with the wrestlers, because they lie on behalf of the owner and the promoter. But my thought would be that Vince would keep it as close to his vest as possible, so everybody else is culpable to my ability with this, or plausible to my ability. That's my thought. But if there was one person, if Jerry Briscoe knew,
Pat mercenary work?
If Pat Patterson knew, even separate with that, just based on the responsibilities and duties of this person, like you said, music,
let me know
all that stuff. You like. First Pritchard had to know.
Girls, dogs,
everything. Take a look.
Maybe Kerwin. Maybe, you know why? If Bruce is screaming, if they see the finish and Bruce is screaming, hit Shawn's music, they're going to hit the music. It's just a chain of command thing. They see the finish, they might go, what is going on? But Bruce is like, just hit the music. They're going to hit the music. And if Bruce says, keep rolling, because remember Vince said, I want you to get all this, so when Brett's wrecking all the equipment and everything, remember they said, we want you to keep shooting this. That's a Vince call to Bruce, to Kerwin, to Kevin Dunn, which means none of them at that particular point needs to be clued in. Bruce, I think, is already clued in. But the directors and the camera operators are literally with blinders on, just listening, just following orders. That's all they're doing. So I believe some or most of that, but I have a problem believing that Bruce did know.
I work for Bellafor at the General Goods store.
What about Jim Ross?
I would say with his interactions with Vince,
stupid Lars, Battleborn,
and the fact that they want the commentators to just react to what's going on.
Fight, because you don't fight back.
They do that. They do that on the most benign things. You notice that? Like nobody knows Brock's coming back. Nobody knows this guy's coming back. Nobody knew Punk was coming back. They want real. And for all we said, I mean, they are like, man, they screwed them. That would just like this storyline afterwards. It would have helped, not hurt it. What do you think? Do you think they are?
Patron of
That's
the
a tough one. I'd need to re-listen to the commentary again. That's a tough one. I'd probably.
I lean towards
because the thing is, it makes sense, but I figured Jim was pretty much a yes man as well at the time. So maybe he'd keep his mouth shut and just let it play out. I think his commentary was fairly professional, which it always was.
I serve Jarl.
Well, you think
The
by
Jarl
being
is,
that
as you
professional
can
and not
imagine,
emotional that he
excellent.
was clued into it?
You've done us a great service.
I don't.
Splendid.
I'm leaning
There's a
towards
house
no
available
because of
right
his,
now.
even though he runs
Wonderful.
talent relations,
Here's the key to
he
your
knows
new
his
home.
contract's been rescinded.
I'll be
Brett's
glad to.
going to WCW.
And of course, don't forget
We
to
got a
consult.
problem here
Now,
with
what would
Brett
you like to
not wanting drop it
purchase?
to Sean, and that's where JR, even though they're calling Vince, JR's put in the middle as the bad guy, as the bad cop with this. But
Very well.
from a
Is there anything
commentator's
else you'd like to
perspective,
purchase?
They do not need to be clued in the finishes, surprises, and stuff.
Very well. Is there anything else you'd like to
Brett was
purchase?
surprised
Very
more
well.
than anybody.
Is there
Vince,
anything else you'd like to purchase?
Let's just touch on it real quick. There's that
Very well.
theory out there
Is there anything else you'd
that
like to
Brett did
purchase?
know about this. That this is, I think it was
Very
it
well.
Warrior
Is there anything
and
else
maybe
you'd like to
Kevin Nash
purchase?
in the past have
Very
commented,
well.
Warriors like
Is there anything else you'd like to
cameras in the
purchase?
right place. They're shooting a documentary, Wrestling with Shadows, which, by the way, we should do an episode on that. All episode on that.
As you wish. Speak to
Everything
me again
seemed
if
to
you
be in the
decide to
right
purchase
place.
some decorations
I'm just
for your
giving
home.
all the theories out
The
here.
task of
I love
steward
a
is
good
more
theory.
important
I
than
know
you
you love a good
realize.
theory. I
The
think,
Jarl
okay,
often
here's the
asks
biggest
for my
one to
invaluable
counteract
counsel.
that, is that I can't really see Bret Hart being the world's greatest actor for nearly 30 years and being legitimately upset in lawsuits. And,
Oh, like you think he and Goldberg are best friends laughing and trolling?
yeah. No, not a chance.
This is the fringe point, like 1%
Damn those great names to
type
oblivion.
of thing.
They want
Why?
to back the storm.
You know, that's the thing too. There's cameras everywhere,
I
so
spend
you're
a lot
always
of
going
time
to
at
get
the
the action
market
in
stall, so I
WWE.
can
They
learn
are
emergency.
good at capturing all that.
Looking for my
And
husband,
I don't think Vince
Nazim?
even knew
Check the Jarl's
that
backside.
possibly the thing
That's
that
usually
could
where he
destroyed
stuffs
the
himself
company
these days.
So,
was
have you
actually
gotten
the launch
Netherbane back?
pad to make them more profitable than ever.
Yeah,
Now-
exactly. Like, there's a few
I don't
instances
really
where
want to
things have
touch
gone absolutely
Elderly
not according to plan,
You can
and it's
use
worked out
Netherbane to
far
retrieve
better
some of
than
its sap.
anybody could ever hope for, or
Was
anybody
I
could
correct in
have
hearing that you were
scripted
traveling to the Grove of
to
the Elder Gleam?
turn out that great. And
I
then
am a
Vince
traveler,
resisted the Mr. McMahon
I've
thing.
dreamed of seeing
It's like,
Elder
nah,
Gleam for
not a chance.
years. Might I travel
There's a
alongside
thing
you?
that Ben Hameen always says for
I
the world,
thank you
Vince,
for your kindness.
if it feels weird, do it more. Obviously, Vince felt weird being the bad guy. He wanted to always be the
Welcome back. All right, 7 games tonight in the National Hockey League, a night where some of these teams are playing without the players that they acquired today at the trade deadline, so everybody did the best that they could with what they had. We'll go ahead, we'll start things off talking about Florida and Detroit. Also, I will be doing a news update after every few games. Bobrovsky versus Gibson, there was the centennial celebration for Detroit, modern era brought out. Verhaeghe fires one wide on a fast break. Rasmussen has a wraparound chance that's blocked. The shots were 3-1 for Detroit at 3.5 minutes.
Hi, how are you?
Teams trade rushes and turnovers. Finney's denied on a breakaway. Panthers pressure at 6.5 minutes. Good
I'm not
back checking
sworn to
by
carry
Florida.
your burdens,
Eventually they
but
get the lead.
I guess I
At
can.
11:06 on a pass from behind the net, off a good forecheck. Matthew Tkachuk scores. Verhaeghe with the helper. 1-0 Florida. Detroit looks to respond. Larkin's denied from the slot. Lindell has a screenshot that's held. Shots were 6-5 for the Panthers with 6 minutes left. Finney has a net drive chance that's saved with 49.8 seconds left. Detroit gets power play. So that runs to the end of the first period. Score 1-0 Florida. Second period. Panthers finish the kill. We get a power play then for Florida. That's killed off as well. The shots are 3-0 for the Panthers in 4.5 minutes. Sherrod has a rush chance that's held. The Wings pressure at 6.5 minutes. They're kept to the outside. There's a near miss for Finney from in close. Raymond's denied on a net drive. We get a scrum as a Panthers penalty is called. That becomes a minute and 31 seconds of 5-on-3 not long after. So Detroit with that two-man win. So that's too long. And DeBrincat bats in a rebound to tie the game at 1. Kane and Larkin with the assist at 11:56. Importantly, Florida does kill off the 5-on-4. Wings pressure with 5.5 minutes left with 58.3 seconds left. Florida draws a power play, so that runs to the end of the second period. Score still 1-1. Early in the third, they do score on that power play at 35 seconds. Tkachuk, off of a failed clear, ends up getting the goal. Reinhart and Marchand with the assists. Florida back in the lead. Panthers go back to the power play. Detroit kills that off. Kane has a rush chance that's blocked. Shots are 5-2 for Florida at 5 minutes. Not a surprise with the 2 power plays. Things get pushy and a hold by Gibson. The Panthers are controlling the play pretty well at this point. The teams trade rushes and turnovers. Larkin gets shaken up. He twisted his knee as he went down to the ice. That looked very painful. Hopefully he's okay. Shots are 12-8 for the Panthers with 8 minutes left. The Panthers get some pressure with 7.5 minutes left. Johansson has a net drive. That's blocked. 5:21 left. There's too many Panthers on the ice, so Detroit to the power play, and Florida kills that off. Wings press after it's done. The goalie pull happens with 2 minutes left, and at 18:08, Kachuk from the other end of the ice puts it into the open net for the hat trick. Makes it 3-1. Detroit pulls the goaltender again to no avail. 3-1 is your final for Florida. Shots on net, 8-6 Detroit in the first, 10-4 Detroit in the second, 13-10 Florida in the third. Final shots 28-23 for Detroit. Power plays, Florida 1 for 3, Detroit 1 for 4. The hits 29-11 for Florida. Bobrovsky saves 27 out of 28, and Gibson saves 20 out of 22 at the other end. All right, Colorado and Dallas. I said game of the day for this one, and it was Blackwood versus Ottinger. Avs draw power play. Natchez is denied from the slot. And then at 3:33, Makar with a wrister from the right circle pass to screen makes it 1-0 for Colorado. The assist to McKinnon and Natchez. The shots were 4-0 for the Avs in 5 minutes. Stars draw power play. Things get pushed in a hole by Blackwood. And then at 7 minutes and 11 seconds, Heiskanen, the point shot pass to screen, ties the game at 1. The assist to Robertson and Johnston. The Avs pressure at 8.5 minutes, and Dallas Stars get the lead at 10:39. Johnston roofs one from the slot. Heiskanen and Robertson with the assist, so 2-1 in favor of Dallas. The fans call on the referee does not. McKinnon has a net feed that's picked off. The Stars rush. Shots are 8-6 for Dallas with 5.5 minutes left. Considering Colorado had the first 4 shots, you can see that Dallas was controlling, and at 16:07, they get a 2-goal lead. Kritzkovian just catches Blackwood out of position. He scores from Maverick Court. The Avs draw power play. That's killed off. Then with 13.7 seconds left, the Avs get their third power play of the game, and they score on it at 19:59. It's a one-timer from a sharp angle by McKinnon. Natchez and Makar with the assist. The score's 3-2, and don't look now, Colorado's power play is getting stronger. This is the third straight game they've had a power play goal. It's 3-2 Dallas after 1. Second period. At 1:52, Jamie Benn goes 5-hole on a pass from behind the net to make it 4-2. Kritzkovian and Bork with the assists, and that ends the night for Blackwood. Wedgwood goes in. Shots are 4-2 for Dallas at 4 minutes. Steele has a near miss on a one-timer. McKinnon has a net feed. That's picked off. And then at 8:05, Natchez roofs a wrist shot to make it a 4-3 game. McKinnon and Landeskog with the assists. Colorado then draws a power play. That's killed off. Shots are 5-4 for Colorado with 8.5 minutes left. So Dallas stuck on 4 shots for a while. The Avs get some pressure with 7 minutes left. Hintz ends up going down. Looks like he has a leg injury. That looked painful. He exits, and Hintz was just back in after fighting off illness. So we'll see how long he's out. There's pressure by Dallas in the final minute, and with 16.3 seconds left, Dallas goes to the power play. So it's 4-3 after 2. Power play rolls over into the third period. The Avs finish the kill. The shots are 3-2 for Dallas at 3.5 minutes. Stars draw a power play. That becomes 24 seconds of a 5-on-3. Duchesne's denied on the net drive. The Avs do kill that off. Very key they do that to keep the lead at 4-3. Colorado with some pressure at 9.5 minutes. Long stretch in this game with no shots for either team. Steele has a rush. That's defended with 5:20 left. The Avs get a power play. That's killed off. Goalie pull happens with 1 minute and 50 seconds left. Dallas was icing the puck. They were sitting back. And at 19:45, Nichushkin makes a pay by tying the game at 4. Natchez and Nelson with the assist, so we're going to overtime. The Avs controlled early. Taves was robbed in the final minute and a half of this, too. Stars call a timeout with 29 seconds left. Car fires wide on the rush. We're going to the shootout. In the shootout, Natchez with the winner. Colorado gets 2 points in Dallas with a 5-4 shootout victory. Shots on net favored Colorado most of the way. 11-10 in the first, 9-6 in the second, 7-3 in the third. Both teams had 2 shots in the overtime. Final shots 29-21 for Colorado. Power plays 2 for 5 for Colorado, 1 for 4 for Dallas. The hits 24-19 for the Avalanche. Blackwood saved 7 out of 11, and then Wedgwood saved all 10 in the relief. He gets the shootout victory. Ottinger 25 saves on 29 shots at the other end. All right, next up, Vancouver and Chicago. Tolopilo versus Soderblom. We had the E-Bug backing up for Chicago, so Knight wasn't able to play tonight. And a minute 8 seconds in, Chicago opens the scoring. Donato with backhand and close on bounce off the boards. Nazar and Vlasic with the assists. Chicago with the early lead. Canucks look to respond. McCabe has a rush chance that's held, and then at 2:08, so 1 minute after it's 1-0, it becomes 1-1. O'Connor tips in a net feed Willander and Marcus Pettersson with the helpers. Canucks look for the lead, and they find it in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's DeBrusque tipping in a point shot for William and Pettersson with the assists, so 2-1's the score. Hawks pressure at 5 minutes, but at 6:32, Vancouver makes it 3-1. Bluger puts one in from the doorstep. Marcus Pettersson and Sasson with the assists. 3-1 lead. But Chicago would answer. At 12 minutes, McCabe buries one from the slot. Moore and Bertuzzi with the assists, so it's 3-2. And I was thinking, so this one's going to be like a 20-goal game. Bedard's one-timer on a rush, that's held. The Hawks draw a power play. That's killed off. With 1:30 left, the Hawks get another, and 30 seconds later it becomes 4-on-4. So that runs out the period with Vancouver ahead 3-2. Second period, everything gets killed off to start things off, and the Hawks get some pressure at 2 minutes. There's a scrum and a hold by Tolopilo, so we have 4-on-4 after that. Shots at 3-1 Chicago at 4 minutes. Teravainen has a chance, that's kicked aside. Back-to-back icings by the Canucks. You gotta watch that. The Canucks, though, they draw a power play. That's killed off. Shots are 5-1 for Chicago at 9.5 minutes. We get a power play for Chicago. That becomes 4 seconds of 4-on-4. Everything gets killed off again. The Canucks press in the final minute, but the puck goes the other way, and in 1917, Chicago ties the game. It's Nazar tipping in a point shot. Vlasic and Mikheyev with the assists. So 3-3 tie. We are going to the third. Third period, early pressure by Chicago. We get a power play for the Canucks, though, and they score it. At 2 minutes and 40 seconds, it's Brock Besser burying a cross-ice pass. Carlson and DeBrusque with the assists. Vancouver's ahead again, 4-3. Shots are 3 apiece at 5 minutes. The Hawks get some pressure at 7 minutes. Besser has a one-timer that's sticked aside by Soderblom. Shots are 7-5 for the Canucks with 7.5 minutes left. Green's denied. Tolopilo holds there. The Hawks score, but it's waved off for being kicked in, so no challenge on that I saw. Goalie pull happens with 2 minutes left, and at 18:34, Sasson hits the empty net to make it 5-3. The goalie pull happens again, and at 19:44, Besser with the second goal of the period. Rossi and Bronick with the assists makes the final score in this one 6-3, and that is the first road win for the Canucks this year. They've lost 9 in a row on the road coming into this. So Chicago, tough night. Your shots on net, 7 apiece in the first, 10-6 Chicago in the second, 9-6 Vancouver in the third. Final shots 23-22 for the Blackhawks. Power plays, Vancouver 1 for 4, Chicago 1 for 3. The hits, 20-17 in favor of Vancouver. Tolopilo saved 20 out of 23. Soderblom saved 16 out of 20. We'll see if Knight's good to go for the next game for Chicago. If not, you got to think Costa's going to get the call-up. All right, next up, the Carolina Hurricanes and Edmonton Oilers. Anderson versus Jarry. Early jump for Carolina. They're leading in shots 3-0, 3.5 minutes in. The Oilers pressured 5.5 minutes. Carolina draws a power play. That was killed off. Cleared out after. 1 shot on net allowed. And then Edmonton opens scoring at 10:43. It's a backhand on a breakaway. Beautiful goal by Zach Hyman. The assist to McDavid and Ekholm. But less than a minute later, Carolina answers. At 11:20, it's Gostisbehere with a one-timer from the high slot. Jarvis and Aho with the assists. And they enjoyed tying it up so much that they would get the lead. At 12:06, Oilers puts one in from the point. I felt like that was a bit of a leaky goal. You kind of need a save there. Carolina now with their first lead of the game at 2-1. Carolina presses with 4 minutes left. We then get some pressure by the Oilers with 2.5 minutes left. With 2:14 left, the Oilers get a power play. Carolina goes that off. And Carolina has the 2-1 lead after 3 minutes. In the second period, Bud Colson's denied early, and then at 1:37, Martin puts one in on a pass from behind the net. He kind of whiffed on it, too, and it went in the net, so that may have just thrown the goalie off. The assist to Ehlers and Miller, so we have a 2-goal lead now for Carolina. The Oilers look to respond, and at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, they do. They make it 3-2. Bud Colson roofs one from the sharp angle. That's his 14th of the season, ties career high. That's the lead for Carolina. Teams trade 3-on-2 rushes. Shots are 4-3 for the Oilers in 7 minutes. Carolina with some pressure at 7.5 minutes. 9 shots for Edmonton halfway through this game. That's it, because Carolina does not allow a lot of shots. Oilers pressure with 5.5 minutes left. Bouchard has a backhand chance. That's held by Anderson. Kane's pressure with 3.5 minutes left. Slavin has a tip shot that's turned aside with 38.3 seconds left. Carolina goes to power play. That runs to the end of the period with the score 3-2 in favor of the Hurricanes. So we go to the third. The Oilers finish the kill. The Oilers had the only shot on net 3 minutes into the period. Slavin brings up 2-on-1. That's held. The Oilers with some pressure at 6.5 minutes. The Canes draw a power play, or they would have, but they scored during the delayed call at 7:32. Blake blasts one into the net. Miller and Hall with the assists. So Carolina widens their lead to 4-2. Carolina gets a power play not long after that, but it becomes 10 seconds of 4-on-4, and on the power play on the other side, Edmonton scores. It's Hyman from the inner slot on a rush at 11:43. Draisaitl and Bouchard with the assists. That's Carolina's lead down 4-3. The Oilers pressure with 4 minutes left. Eventually they pull the goalie at 18:39. Stahl hits the empty net. The Oilers with the assists 5-3. And then at 19:31, Carolina hits another. This time Blake fires past the screen. Stanko with the offer with the assists makes the final score 6-3. A lot of goals tonight. Not a lot of Edie's games, but a lot of goals tonight. And it's weird because since the break, I've noticed scoring seems to be a little bit down tonight. Your shots on net, 8-3 Carolina in the first, 18-9 Carolina in the second, and then 6-4 Carolina in the third. They outshoot Edmonton in Edmonton 32-16. Power plays, Carolina 0-3, Edmonton 1-2. The hits, 27-15 for Edmonton. Anderson saved 13 out of 16. Jari saves 26 out of 31. All right, let's go to board. All right, Montreal and Anaheim. So Montembeault versus Dostal. The Ducks score 20 seconds in, but an offside challenge works. It's no goal, so they just get it back. At 39 seconds, it's cross-ice passing in on a rush from Gauthier, the assist to Carlson and Kreider. So Montembeault with a tough start to this game. Well, Montreal answers on their first shot. At 1:01, it's Suzuki with a wrister from the slot. Caulfield, Slafkovsky with the assists. And here we go. For a while tonight, I was just putting up goal magnets and trying to keep up with everything. Both teams scored on their first shots, as I said. The Habs draw a power play, and they score on that as well. At 3:33, it's Hudson wiring one from the slot. It was only the third shot on net for Montreal. The assist to Slafkovsky and Suzuki. Shots are 6-3 Anaheim at 7 minutes. The Ducks draw a power play. That's killed off. 3 shots on net, and then they would score at 11:56. It's Gudas putting one top shelf from the point. Vetrano and Paling with the assists. Makes it 2-2, and those were the last of the notes I took in that first period because I had no idea just how many more goals we might see. Also, it was basically just Anaheim controlling things. The score, I thought, was kind of deceptive. So we go to the second period, early pressure by Anaheim. Vetrano has a wrister that deflects out. The dislike was ramping up at this one as the game went along. The Habs draw power play, that's killed off. Montreal with some pressure out. Shots on net. 4-2 for Anaheim in 6 minutes. Montreal goes back to power play, so Anaheim kills that off. The hitting ramping up for Anaheim. Fans definitely getting into it, really enjoying that. The Ducks draw a power play, and they score on it. And it's their home. It's the first goal in a while. Ball 14, it's one-timer from the point. And the Montreal defender as well. Gauthier and Kreider with the assists. Anaheim has the lead back at 3-2. Kreider then has a screenshot that's denied. Kaloran's robbed on a 2-on-1 rush. Doc then has a fast break chance that's held as well. I believe he wanted a call on that play, or I remember what it was. He kind of looked upwards for his license, like, just couldn't believe that didn't go in. But it is 3-2 for Anaheim after 40 minutes. Third period, 35 seconds in, Carlson with a cross-ice pass via a 2-on-1 rush scores. Kreider with the helper, so Kreider on the board a couple of times tonight. And suddenly Anaheim has a 4-2 lead. The Habs press at 6 minutes. Gauthier has a rush chance that's defended. Shots are 5-1 for Anaheim at 8.5 minutes. But at 8:41, on their second shot, Montreal scores. Caulfield puts one in from the left circle on a cross-ice pass. Dobson and Hudson with the assists. The Habs pressure with 9 minutes left, and at 11:47, they score. Carrier wires one from a high slot. Evans and Bolduc with the assists, so now it's 4-4. And less than 2 minutes later, 13:04, Caulfield goes posted in for the lead for Montreal. The assist to Dobson and Hudson. The Habs pressure with 5 minutes left. Anaheim would pull the goaltender with 1 minute and 50 seconds left. And at 19:19, Kreider tips one in to tie it at 5. The 80s magnet goes on the board. Trouba and Lacombe with the assists. This tape magnet, it actually says 1987 hits on it. So that was when I was making mixtapes. Anyways, that is the 100th tipped-in goal by Kreider. He is far and away the #1 player in the NHL since 2009-2010 for tipped-in goals with 100. I think second on the list but at 66. At any rate, that means we're going overtime. Canadians controlled early. Amadon's denied a fast break. Get a power play from Montreal. It's unsuccessful. So we get to the shootout. It went all the way to round 6, and Alex Poulor ends up getting the shootout winner. Anaheim wins this one 6-5 via the shootout. Shots on net, 12 for Anaheim first, 14-13 Montreal second, 8-6 Anaheim third. Montreal had all 4 shots in the overtime. Final shots 33-28 for the Ducks. Power plays, Montreal 1 for 4 and 2 hits. 21-17 for the Habs. Montembeault 28 saves on 33 shots. Nostal 23 saves on 28 shots at the end. All right, next up. The Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights. Gustafsson versus Schmidt. The Wild pressure at
amazing. You are an Eldergleam sanctuary. Just a small glimpse of what you... Yes, my friend. Though no one has been able to get close to her for as long as I can be. As you can see, though, believe it or not, there are rumors of a weapon, but even the rumors are true. I beg of you, don't harm the tree. Nothing good can come of it.
Vegas was blocking pretty well.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
Very few chances for the Wild in the net. We have no score after one. Second period, Nicholas Sharping chance that save. Faber gets shaken up a bit on a hit from Barbashev. We had a fight between Middleton and Kolasar. Shots are 2-0 Vegas in 3.5 minutes. However, at 5:18, Zuccarello makes him pay on the turnover over the scoring. He wires one glove side on a breakaway. So Zuccarello, unassisted at 5:18, makes it 1-0. The Wild look for another, and they can find it. At 8:06, Bogosian with one-timer from the right circle. Euron and Trenyon with the helpers. 2-0 Minnesota. And 19 seconds later, and one shot tipped in by McCarron. Welcome to Minnesota. At 8:25, Faber and Hughes with the assists. We then had a fight between Faber and Lauzon. Vegas would get some pressure with 8.5 minutes left. Teams trade rushes and turnovers. There's pressure by the Wild with 5 minutes left. Eichel has an net feed. That's held. There was momentum for Vegas late in the second, but they come out of that period down 3-0. Third period, Vegas has a 2-on-1 that's broken up. Vegas ends up drawing a power play because it's the third period. That's what happens. And they score on it at 2:17. Score for you. Who else? He goes short side from next to the net. Eichel with the helper there. Bowman with the assist. And that cuts the lead 3-1. Vegas presses for another. Things get pushed in hold by Schmidt. Barbashev has a rush chance. That's blocked out. Shots are 7-6 for Vegas in 5.5 minutes. Pressure by Vegas at 9.5 minutes. There's a bit of a scrum on a hold by Gustafsson, so we'll get 4-on-4 of that. Kaprizov is one-timer that's blocked, and the shots are 11-6 for Vegas with 7.5 minutes left. Fabry has a high slot, Brisker, that's held. And then it's 15-43 Tarasenko on a 3-1 rush and puts it into the left circle. The assist is Spurgeon and McCarron. There's McCarron with a goal and an assist. Again, welcome to Minnesota. That makes the score 4-1. Vegas looks to respond, and they do. At 16:55, Marner carries an empty on the doorstep. They have assists. Only 12 hours and 2 minutes left. Minnesota goes out of this one. They win 4-2 Vegas and sweep the season series. Shots on net, 8-6 Vegas in the first, 10-7 Vegas in the second, 14-11 Vegas in the third. They do outshoot Minnesota 32-24. Power plays, Minnesota did not score the only one they had. Vegas scored the only one they had. The Nets 22-14 Minnesota. Gustafsson was fantastic. 30 saves on 32 shots. Schmidt saved 20 out of 24. Isn't it interesting? No goaltenders got moved today other than one of the minors. Interesting. All that talk about goalies. All right, St. Louis and San Jose is featured heading to New England. They did versus Middleton. We had a fight between Holmby and Ferraro. Blues come out of that one. That was killed off without a single shot on net. In fact, the only shot on net belongs to the Blues in 4 minutes. One sole solitary shot. Sharks draw power play, that's killed off, and then at 6:55 the Blues open scoring. Snugger from the left circle pass to screen. Fowler and Holloway with the assist, so St. Louis is up 0-0. Shots are 7-2 for San Jose at 9 minutes. The staff check gets poke checked, and then we get a bit of a scrum at the St. Louis net. We had a fight between Neighbors and Goudreau, as that's going on too. So we had some fights in the first period, which is good because it was kind of a quiet first period other than that. Blues have a 3-on-1 that misfires. They get stuck on 2 shots for a while. Toffoli fires one high from the slot, and even though San Jose outshot them by a lot, It's 1-0 St. Louis after the first. Second period, shots are 2-0 for the Blues in 3 minutes. Celebrini has a slot shot that's helped. Sharks press and get to the inside. Misa to Eklund near miss. It's 30 minutes into this game. The Blues had 7 shots. Just efficient, I guess. The Blues press with 9 minutes left. Finley has a turnover chance. That's held. He gets the pushing there. Blues emerge from that with a power play. That becomes 53 seconds and 4-on-4. Everything's killed off. And then at 14:31, just after San Jose's power plays ended, Celebrini scores Orlov and Foley with the assist. We have a 1-1 tie. Blues press to respond, and at 17:46, they would get the lead back. Thomas buries a wrister from the slot, Snuggerud following with the assist. St. Louis back in front 2-1. Wenberg fires one wide on a rush, and it is 2-1 for St. Louis after 40 minutes. Third period, early Sharks press are kept to the outside. The team trade turnovers. Sherwood has a fast break, that's defended. Smith to Wenberg, near miss at the St. Louis net. Dickinson has a shot that's caught and held. San Jose, that was the only shot, 6 minutes into the period. That's it. Neither team had very much room in the third period. Sharks get some pressure at 9.5 minutes. Dickinson has a one-timer that's held. Celebrini can't bury one in close. And then at 13:26 on a pass from behind the net, keeper Sherwood ties the game. So his new contract helped him out. The assist to Khrushchev and Graf.
I don't claim
Sharks
the
then look
finest
for the lead. The
weapons
shots
in
are
armor.
8-0 for San Jose with 4.5 minutes left. Sharks pressure with 2.5 minutes left, but we're going to overtime. Now, there's no Forky Magnet because this was the last game tonight. It has to be the last game of the night that goes to overtime, and it did not. So that's why there's no Forky Magnet here, because this game was done before that one was. In the overtime, San Jose controls early, but they turn it over, and then the teams just both sloppy overtime. They both turn it over. And at 54 seconds, Thomas deposits a rebound off the post. The assist
Don't forget to check inside the shop
St.
if you
Louis
need
moves into
anything.
San Jose. They went 3-2 in overtime.
you
Shots
met
on
my
net,
father?
11-3 San
He's
Jose
the
in the first,
steward at the
9-6 St. Louis in the second, 8-1 for San Jose in the third, and then in the overtime, St. Louis had the only shot. That's all they needed. Final shots, 25-14 for San Jose. Power plays, both teams go 0 for 2. The hits, 24-19 for San Jose. Bennington, 23 saves on 25 shots. Nedeljkovic, 11 saves on 14 shots. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the little bit of news of the day that I have not had a chance to talk about. I talked about all the trades. Getty Malkin has been suspended 5 games for that slash on Dolly. So, I mean, it was a two-hander. He got him right in the neck.
Wonderful. I'll use it to repair
I
the
didn't
key.
know it would be 5
Thank
games.
you so much
That
for all your
kind of
help.
surprises me that it's that much. Because I remember
Somewhat,
the stick swing
when the
where he
wounded
got 1 game,
is more
which
of
I
this,
felt was far
I
more
wish
dangerous
only
than
an
this
end
one.
to the
So
fighting, so that I
they
can
spun the
tend to
wheel.
the temple
5
once
games
more.
for Malkin, which is not on my wheel. I don't have 5 games.
Face of
5
Kinneret
games on the wheel here. There were 3 waiver claims from yesterday as well. So in the midst of all the trades I'm reviewing, the waiver claims, I never saw anything about it. So Douglas was claimed from Tampa by the Canucks because they need players. Glendening was claimed by Philadelphia from New Jersey, and Ryan Hartman was claimed back by Florida.
Talking to a
Claimed
married
Florida
woman.
before. He was
Why?
claimed for
Am I
Vegas
that
Golden
interesting?
Knights. So Florida
perhaps there
clearly
were
had
other
it
things on your
and
mind.
trying to go for it. So let me know your thoughts regarding the waiver claims and regarding the Malkin suspension. 5 games is a lot, especially since they're already without Sidney Crosby.
Oh.
All right,
Wow.
now let's talk about the standings.
Are you? Yay!
All right, so with tonight's results, no change in the top 2 in the Atlantic,
I'll be the
with
best
the
daughter
loss
ever.
tonight. Detroit 35-21-7, 77 points in 63 games, 3-5-2 in their last 10. They're 5 points clear of the playoff line, but they really needed 2 points and they didn't get it. In the Metro, Carolina widens their lead atop the division, 40-16-6 record, 86 points in 63
I work
games,
with my mother.
8-1-1 in their last 10, and they'll be 11 points ahead of Pittsburgh and the Islanders. Montreal, 33-18-10, 76 points in 61 games. They also just got the 1 point tonight. 5-2-3 in their last 10. They're 4 points clear of the playoff line. Below the playoff line, not much changes here, but Florida does move up. 31-29-3, 65 points in 63 games. Still 3-7 in their last 10.
Maybe some other
Florida.
time I'll reveal your destiny.
Nobody else on this side of the board played tonight. Out west, the top 3 teams in the Central all played. The Avalanche now 42-10-9, 93 points in 61 games, 7-3 in their last 10. Dallas,
Come to chat
their
with
10-game
an
winning
old
streak's
woman.
over. 38-14-10 record, 86 points in 62 games, 9-0-1 in their last 10. And with that loss tonight in the shootout, odds are their chances of catching Colorado were pretty much done. Minnesota 37-16 and 10, 84 points in 63 games, 8-2 in their last 10. The Anaheim Ducks are first in the Pacific. Yep, it happened. 35-24 and 3 records, 73 points in 62 games, 7-3 in their last 10. Vegas loses again, 29-20 and 14, 72 points in 63 games, 4-6 in their last 10. Edmonton also 4-6 in their last 10, 30-25 and 8 records, 68 points in 63 games. I don't think Edmonton did enough in the deadline. I gotta be honest. That might be a discussion in a video tomorrow. No change with the wild card teams. San Jose 30-25-5, 65 points in 60 games, 4-4-2 in their last 10. To get a point tonight, they really needed 2 against St. Louis. St. Louis moves up.
My friend
24-29 and 9 record, 57 points in 62 games. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Chicago drops 23-29 and 10, 56 points in 62 games, 2-6-2 in their last 10. And the Canucks with the win, 19-36-7, 45 points in 62 games, 2-6-2 in their last 10 games.
He's here to
one win away from 20.
How do we know he's not spying
Who knows
on
how
the
many more times we're
Battleborn?
going to get to wear
This
Canucks
was
jersey
foolish.
for a review.
We
before
can't
the
trust
season's
anyone.
done. They got
Who
20
knows
games
what they'll
left.
do if they
They
find
are
me
10
here.
points behind 31st
I
overall.
can't
in the
take
NHL.
any more
So,
of this. No weapons, please. Let's just talk.
All right,
Hey, I
Mother.
hope you don't mind.
Can I help you?
My friends.
Okay. Whoa.
So, you're here to help? I know that Thorald's not dead. I just know it. The Imperials have him and are keeping him somewhere, but I don't know where. Those damn Battleborns, they know something. They're hiding it. They practically taught us with it. They must have some sort of proof. There's gotta be something in that house of theirs. I just know it. I don't dare leave the house myself, so I need your help.
The Canadians did in World War I. The Canadians were like doing Pavlov.
Anything that confirms they'd be hiding it, of course. But you might be able to butter them up enough to lower their guard. The Battleborn, their connections to they knew Thor, locked him up someplace to get back at my family. I'm sure of it.
Into the trenches, it's all the Canadians did. Is it illegal now?
Yeah, they're illegal now, yeah. To use grenades in war.
The Canadians are badass trench warfare. Like, this is a slight exaggeration, but only a little. Like, the first draft of the Geneva Convention is just a list of shit the Canadians did in World War I. The Canadians were like doing Pavlov to the enemy. They were like psychological. They were throwing food into the enemy trenches every day, like breakfast time, for like 2 days straight. So then, like, one day, 3 days later, it's like there's a couple of cans, and then they all start running up. Like, and Pinata just got broke at a birthday party, and then they just start throwing grenades into the trenches. It's all the Canadians did. Is it illegal now?
Yeah, they're illegal now, yeah. To use grenades in war.
The Canadians are badass trench warfare. Like, this is a slight exaggeration, but only a little. Like, the first draft of the Geneva Convention is just a list of shit the Canadians did in World War I. The Canadians were like doing Pavlov to the enemy. They were like psychological. They were throwing food into the enemy trenches every day at like breakfast time for like 2 days straight. So then, like, one day, 3 days later, it's like there's a couple of cans, and then they all start running up. Like, and Pinata just got broke at a birthday party, and then they just start throwing grenades into the trenches. It's all the Canadians did. Is it illegal now?
Yeah, they're illegal now, yeah. To use grenades in war.
The Canadians are badass trench warfare. Like, this is a slight exaggeration, but only a little. Like, the first draft of the Geneva Convention is just a list of shit the Canadians did in World War I. The Canadians were like doing Pavlov to the enemy. They were like psychological. They were throwing food into the enemy. Find out.
What?
How?
If they did a Red Dead Redemption 3, would you prefer, like...
Well, okay, I guess this is history in the making then. As of March 4th, the United States went and sank an Iranian...
This was originally an old mining town from 1864, and so we're bringing it all back. It's like to view out here, huh? Bodies found right up here. Creativity, I believe, comes from quiet, playful awareness.
And I don't date my customers.
Well,
I dated him.
The whole program, we expect it to cost $55 million.
Today I'm out here in the Bradshaw Mountains going to meet up with a fellow ghost town owner. There's a town here called Cleator that a couple guys bought a number of years ago. I'm going to go down there, learn what they want to do with the town, learn the history of the town, and meet some of the locals. It's not every day that I meet a fellow ghost town owner, so I'm excited to go check it out. Got traffic out here today. This road into Cleator. used to be a railroad. They called it the Impossible Railroad. They climbed up into the mountains and serviced different lines in the area. And Cleator was originally known as this area called Turkey or Turkey Creek, and it was a railroad stop. It was a little general store and stuff like that. Eventually, this guy named Jimmy Cleator got tired of it being called and confused with the other town of the same name, so it just became known as Cleator. Cleator used to be a little railroad stop. These days, it's a popular destination for off-roaders, so people on quads, side-by-sides, Jeeps, and we're here on a weekend day, so it's looking busy. You know, I know that Ghost Town can mean a lot of different things. This one is a very alive ghost town, and I think today, too, we're going to be able to jump out and explore some mines. I'm excited about that.
You're not supposed to be here.
Hey, Fred, how you doing? I'm on the phone with Joe, and he just said that
This
you
is the
Fred
last
yet.
time I'll
Okay,
say
so
it.
good timing. I'm here. So is this like is this like an original store? Yeah, this is from 1906. Okay. Yeah.
Guards! Trespasser!
And we reopened it.
Corey literally has pretty much restored this freaking place.
It was a gift shop when we first came down here, and there was like a counter back here. Darlene? Yeah, I thought you said Dory. I'm like, she got married on the doorsteps, and she had a gun in her hand too, and her husband used to run the bar. Yeah, this place was functioning, but there were, I mean, the roof was, he finished the floor, the roof, changed everything around.
I'm using I was actually working for a woman in Pennsylvania a couple years ago, and she was buying houses in Scottsdale. I was helping her flip a couple houses and ran into Joe. Did a little bit of work for him, and I cleaned up after myself and showed up on time.
What say
apparently that impressed him enough that whenever they find the county, he had to come out.
Forgive me. We'll look the other way this time. Even the Jarl's influence has its limits. Be more careful.
Friday, you live in a ghost town, and then all of a sudden, Saturday and Sunday, you get this.
Party comes to you.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of traffic you get. Even last night, for some reason, at 10 o'clock at night, there was probably 20 side-by-sides running out past my house. Then came back up around 10 o'clock. It's really cool, because you'll see people from Scottsdale with, millionaires from Scottsdale hanging out with us desert rats. And it's a long group.
Here they're drilling now, taking some water samples, and yeah, we've been drilling for a while.
Do you have I knew it. Let me...
Okay, so that was...
So, North Watch Key. I'll do anything if it means Thorald can't be left to those monsters. I'll round up what... I'll see you there.
The Silver Cord mine. Okay, so we're drilling down. Turns out the way that I look coordinate date, it's the same basis. Oh, interesting, yeah. And so we drilled down and we hit the vein. Yep. We were going deep into our copper porphyry. Yeah. And we hit some really high, like 22 ounce silver. Feet. Yeah. And so we're just going to go back. And so we know that this is, it extends. Yeah. It's there.
You know what's wrong with Skyrim these
days? So we're just going to keep on plumbing in and drilling and proving out the life. This is our 4,000 acres. There's a big
everything's trinkets, odds and ends. That sort of
mountains, it's all VMSs, volcanic massive sulfide. So what happened 1.2, 1.4 billion years ago, this was all under the ocean, and you had those black smokes, and they sit in today, just volcano under the water. Yeah. And so as the ash went out, precipitated out into these lenses, which were very high grade. And then soon in 1.2, 1.4 billion years, they got trenched up to the sideways, busted up. On all those mines, all the way north, they were all made during the same geological event. This is where we cut the core.
So this is all the core samples. With the boxes here, it tells you how far into the ground that they pulled out all the samples. They need to get cut in half. Some of them are broken.
Do come back.
The geologists, they'll go through with a gun, and if they have anything that pops up, that's an element that we might want, like gold or silver, they'll mark it, and then it comes over here to the wet sock.
Take a good
so
look around.
What I was explaining, and the geologist could probably explain it better.
If not, let me know.
Is there needs to be a library of the core samples, so they get cut in half vertically. So one half will stay in the box in case there's an audit, and the other half is going to get sent to a lab in case there's something inside.
Some of our best core. Yeah, what's in it? All right.
So what we got here is high-grade chalcopyrite intercept.
So this is going to be your shine down into That's great. It's a beautiful side.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That comes to life.
So this is for the silver cord. Okay. And it's 513 feet and 520 foot. And this is the high-grade silver here. And you can see.
Oh, is that a little bit of galena there?
Yeah. It's got 1,900 grams per ton, so somewhere around 60 ounces per ton. High-grade silver.
So we're going to check out some of the mines. So the ores, follow a little bit of the town. We're going to check out the mines, learn a little bit more about that, then come back and meet some more locals.
Come back anytime if you need a remedy.
We were doing the dirt work here, and like a thigh bone popped up. Oops. It was a body from about, I think, 50 to 80 years ago. So we called it in. You know, they had the Horsenic group and the dogs and everything. And
People have forgotten humor.
Took it into the lab.
Roman.
Last you heard of it.
I love it. So,
started here with the original claims, and these were James P. Fleeter's first mines, right here. If you can imagine back in the 1800s, people living out here, access to food, access to water, summer, compared to how most people live today, not having access to Wi-Fi would be a pain in the ass. These were tough individuals in hard times, and they're out there just trying to aspiration, adventure for gold and riches, and doing their thing.
It's one thing to look at black and white photos or like to read text, but then like once you're walking through the same adits they're walking and you're looking at the same mineralization, you're kind of trying to put yourself in their shoes, it kind of brings it all to life a little bit more.
Yeah. Right here, you see the galena. Yeah, silver quartz. Hangs up. 10 inches right here, 2 inches. Exposure right here. You see them, obviously pitches and swells, and there's some little offsets and stuff in it. But see what we have with high-grade mineralization is right here. So whatever was in the water here, they really liked it a lot because they knew. Took a lot of it out. It just.
Oh, I'm gonna call it a day on this stream. Get some sleep. I'll be back later today, hopefully, if I'm not in any pain. With something, maybe Skyrim, maybe something else. But I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thanks for following along. Make sure to follow, subscribe here on Twitch. Like, follow, subscribe over on YouTube. Everything is posted there. The same username is here, Sinclairiverse. See you guys all in the next one.